回国了，新加坡不用再待了，谢谢支持，我们可以打得更好。
大家好，我是方 plus 辅助乐意。nova 风格特别明显嘛，就是围绕他们的打野进行游戏。那我们就是打野也比他们厉害，然后其他位置也比他们厉害，所以我觉得我们更像一个团队，应该是能拿下他们的。就从平常训练赛的情况来看的话，我觉得这场比赛应该像是那种决赛提前上演了吧，就感觉如果把 nova 干掉了，后面的对手不管是哪一个战队，应该都不是我们的对手。希望大家可以好好看我们这场比赛，给你们带来一场精彩的比赛。
All right, guys, let me know your predictions. I think we've spoiled people enough.
No. I'm wearing red right now, but it's Nova. I'm voting for Nova. I believe Long can do it. Long can 1v9 and win this series.
Okay.
Mika and I were on the same page here. FPX 3-1. I think we're going to see the Phoenix fly today.
Yeah, and Riku, I think that if you do...
Так, сейчас подойду, ребят, всем здорово. Пока они тут тарахтят.
But yeah, if I win, if Nova wins, then I can get to draw twice.
Sure. You can do that. I mean, that's only fair, I feel like. Guys, I feel like we have to get out of here, though, because we have to get right into the meat of everything. We are just a few minutes away from our first best-of-5 semifinals. Icons 2022 starts now.
进入到半决赛，我肯定是我们赛区的自豪感吧，做梦都是他。
Chắc là training nhiều với lại chuẩn bị tốt hết sức có thể. Cần một tâm lý ổn định để có thể phát huy hết sức của tụi em.
后面的对手不管是哪一个战队，应该就溃不成军了吧。
这次冠军不会再是你们的了。
最强战队还是我们 FunPlus 吧，
应该是我们预料到的，有弱点的。我们队伍很厉害，如果我们自身够稳定，我们应该就是最强的。
应该的吧，毕竟我们是WL的第1名。我觉得没有什么压力吧，好像不太知道亚米这个人吧，好像你的发挥都没有什么人看见吧。
乐意战胜他很有意义，我比他更厉害。
我感觉我肯定比他厉害一点。我觉得这场比赛应该像是那种决赛提前上演的嘛，给你们带来一场精彩的比赛。这场比赛赢下 nova 的话，他的队伍都不是我们对手。
On June 14th, we started with 24 teams across the entire world.
Так, я здесь. Первый матч будет прям, я не знаю, фавориты. Нова против FPX. Так что ГЛХЛФ, ребят, ну тут пусть победит сильнейший, короче. Реально, обе команды достойные. Кстати, мое мнение, что кто вот в этой паре выиграет, тот станет чемпионом мира. Потому что следующий матч там послабее команды, как по мне. Хотя тоже очень сильные, но мне кажется, что с этой пары будет номер один. Поэтому ждем.
That's absolutely the right framing because Nova Esports, we were actually watching this tape last night, beat FPX the last.
Где мы тут, кстати? Ребят, меня хорошо слышно? Напишите там.
A lot has changed since then. FunPlus Phoenix looked much better when they won the entire Chinese league, and Nova Esports looked a lot shakier when they scraped in here.
94 days since the last time they played against each other. I could be wrong on that.
Oh, well, you said it confidently. So here we go, the rematch for FunPlus Phoenix, one of the best teams in China, one of the biggest esports brands in the world, a team that anyone will be familiar with. For Nova Esports, if you're a mobile esports fan, you're familiar with them. Nova Esports have long had successful international mobile esports teams, many times outside of China. This WRL team was one of the first times that they had a Chinese organization representing them on the international stage, and you can tell that they're pleased to have it. Investing in an all-star roster immediately in the WRL qualifiers before succeeding in third place,
Так.
after their initial results. But they've got a chance here internationally to beat the #1 team in China.
Nova Esports, you saw in the video teaser leading up to this match.
Чуть быстро в этот раз все началось. Ладно, поехали. Баны мы видим. Синджит уходит у новые JZ. От FPX это у нас Камила, Юми, Сена. Ферспик Корки у новые. FPX отвечает сразу довольно быстро, то есть готовые пики. Это Карма плюс Джакс. Потише сделай себя. Так, вайкосы там накидайте, ребят, в темпе по-братски. Чисто по-братски. Лисин уходит для новой. Против Джекса, ну, Верли, да. Здорово, здорово, ребят, всем.
Nova Esports going back to what worked so well for them in their series against Rolster Y, the quarterfinals last weekend. Long, instead of indexing on a late game carry, he is going to be the early bridge that structures Nova's early game into a mid game that will.
Да, я думал, что SGG и TF. Ну, TF очень сильная команда. Она хорошо играет, очень. Я там болел за HDG, но я там сказал, что из той пары выиграет. Да, может быть, он даже зайдет, посмотрим. Посмотрим. Ну, вот эта пара очень сильная. Это, наверное, прям самое интересное будет. Потому что внизу, мне кажется, там выиграют ТФ. Я уверен прям. Поэтому для меня это интересней. Для меня и здесь, конечно, фавориты FPX. Но посмотрим, как Нова сыграет. Здорово, здорово, ребят, всем. Спасибо за лайки. Тут просто вот у FPX очень сильная макроигра. Они типа очень быстро оформят, передвигаются по карте, мне прям нравится. У меня такое ощущение, что FPX на голову выше других азиатских команд именно по макроигре. Мне нравится, как они прям... Они очень быстро играют. Они, кстати, еще через Рейкана любят играть. Вот у них опять Рейкан. Рейкан плюс Моргана, ну, такой стандартный. Опять они вот пикают карму, Рейкан. То есть, как играют FPX? Там, кстати, Ариана слева пикнулась для лейт стадии. Очень важно, потому что есть Брузера 2, Лисидривин. Тут проблема в чем? В том, что вот FPX, они взяли карму, взяли Рейкана и Моргану. Это 3 героя, у которых есть шилды, ну, щитки. У Рейкана 2, у кармы там может сразу давать Моргана. То есть они просто фулл кнопки жмут в Джакса. Вся команда FPX, и все, он будет типа кэрить один. Сейчас посмотрим, что пятым допикается. Здесь Галио последним пиком у Новы. Ну, довольно сильный пик. У Новы прям очень такой. И лейт, и брузня, и в начале. На всей стадии сильный пик. Ну, нет фронтлайна справа. Хорошего, абсолютно. Люциан последним. Прям очень сложный драфт у FPX. У FPX очень сложный драфт. Это будет очень сложно для них. Ну, как по мне лично, я не знаю. У них нечего начинать файт, кроме Рейкана. Прям очень сложно мне что-то тут против Галио, Ревны, Лисина. Еще там Ариана, Скорки. Не знаю, по драфту мне больше нравится у Новы. И даже если берем вейт-гейм, они очень сильные в вейте за счет Арианы. У Арианы много дэмэджа. Единственная проблема то, что с руки не будет. Ладно, смотрим. Смотрим. Люциан, конечно, последним пиком против такого драфта, ну, сложноватенько, как по мне. Не знаю, они готовы, они очень хорошо играют. Просто я свою точку зрения говорю, что прям пик... Ну, вот даже если взять файт 5 на 5, я просто как это вижу. Ну, Рейкан прыгает, Карма дает прокаст, Джакс прыгает под шилдом, да, под всеми щитками там Морганы. Извиняюсь. Я даже вот сейчас представил, что Джакс прыгает под шилдами. Он вообще сможет кого-нибудь убить против такого драфта? Это, мне кажется, только в вейт-гейме. Ну тут карма мидовая с экзостом. А, тут тогда там Люциан на ДК, тогда шансы, кстати, высоки, ребят. Теперь нет, теперь рейд сильнее у FPX. Я думал, у Корки... Подожди, я думал, Люциан мид... А, ну все правильно. У них же Моргана в боте, да, она... Люциан на ДК, ну, нормально. Нормально, будет интересно. Будет интересно, ребят, потому что все-таки Люциан... А, нет, стоп, Люциан это на топе вообще. Что-то я затупил, ребят, сори. Люциан на топе с бортовым против Ревны. Ну, там 60 на 40. Люциан с игнайтом еще. Но Люциан будет душить 60 на 40. До ульты как минимум. Мне не нравится Люциан на топ на турнирах. Это прям, конечно... Я хоть в Солоку играю так редко, но на турнирах это как-то... Процентность побед очень маленькая у Люциана на топе, даже в миду. Ну, кстати, когда Люциан бортовом кубит, если он через бортовом, его Ревна не сможет убить. Это очень сложно будет. Здесь неплохой. Первая пауза. А что там, вон тренер вышел, а что случилось? Справа у красных. Ну, я уже понял, как они будут играть. Короче, FPX, они скипают Дрейка, забирают Герольда, там Люциан будет на линии просто сплитпушить с бортовым. Потом они с мидером свапнутся. И ботвейн тоже с мидом свапнутся. Там Галио Риана, кстати, такая связка очень сильная. Объясняю почему. Потому что Риана кидает третий скилл, шилд. Галио прыгает через Е-флэш, и сразу шоквейв ульт от Арианы, и это очень больно. Особенно в эйте. Посмотрим, как они смогут так реализовать. Ну, не особо сложно, на самом деле, когда у Галио все кнопки есть. Зачем сапаться на турнирах? Ну, например, смотри, там первый всегда стоит соло-вейнер, барон Вейн. Он же не будет пикать... он пикает то, что тренер говорит, что важно. Он не пикает себе на топ. Он пикает, например, первым лисина, леснику. Потом с лесником свапается. Там же по порядку все. Ты же героя берешь, неважно какой ты роли. Например, ты лесник, стоишь первым. Ты же не будешь брать себе лесника. Поэтому они берут героев, которые самые важные для них. То, что говорит тренер, потом сапаются по ролям. Спасибо за лайки, ребят.
I believe it's the convention center. I don't remember which. Marina Bay Sands Convention Center. Yeah, I don't remember which floor, but
it's in the. It's near where we were getting tested. It's that whole area out front.
Я имею в виду, вайнами меняются. Зачем? Ну, это долго объяснять. Прям очень долго. Я честно. Блин, такой матч интересный. Вот эта пауза, но это прям троллинг какой-то, я не знаю. У них паузы, самая маленькая пауза бывает, это 15 минут, я помню. Да, вот сейчас опять минимум 20 минут. Даже 30, мне кажется, сейчас опять начнется. Цирк. Я из-за этого иногда прям меня раздражает это очень сильно. Вот в таких матчах особенно, ну. Ладно там в групповом этапе, но не здесь точно. Прям меня напрягает это. Да-да-да, про сапление в игре. Там долго объяснять. Здесь, кстати, БО5. Тоже. Как и до этого было в читерте. Финально. До 3 побед, короче. Но я не думаю, что в этих парах будет 3-0 хоть в одной. Прям мало верится. Я прям уверен, что сейчас долго будет это.
At the Marina Bay Sands Convention Center, you can head on in if you're in Singapore and watch all the games as well as. And I didn't realize this because we weren't allowed.
Там какие-то траблы с телефоном, я не пойму, или что. Еще раз пусть покажут.
Anyway, that's just something I'm upset about. But apparently, you could go there and play all kinds of fun games like they got allowed to and we didn't get allowed to. Like the ARAM? And taking photos with the trophy?
I'm a big fan of the swag that they had, honestly. So
yeah.
I might have to
and hanging out with RRQ?
Yeah. Dude, I always love hanging out with RRQ, man. Also they had Roaster Y there as well. So fun teams.
I mean also Roaster Y.
Yeah.
An early pause here in the series between FPX and Nova Esports. If you are wondering where we're at, presumably resolving some technical issues on stage. We do have a bit of a fun setup for this series as well, because it is our first semi-final mark. We've got the second semi-final later this week. And I think it is fair to say, as we look in reference to the other semi-final between J-Team and Team Flash, both these teams are favored.
Понял, принял. Спасибо за лайки, ребят. Добейте до 100 по-братски. Ну, я бы здесь на новом месте шел бы просто драться по КД. У них пик файт, короче. Верили сильный пик. На 5 уровне прям очень сильный. А я знаю, как уже будет ситуация. Они просто пойдут на дракона, разменяют его в Герольда. Я бы пошел на тот объект, куда пойдет ФПХ. Хотя посмотрим, может они пойдут драться. Просто Джакс никогда не дерется на первом объекте, какой бы пик ни был. Он всегда через Герольда играет. Ну, слишком большое преимущество по голде выходит
Opponents will
за счет
eventually
ФБ
be
Тавра.
winner of either Team Flash or J Team. And that semifinal will be taking place tomorrow here at the same time. One of the things that I was really hyped up about was the trash talk between both FPX and Nova Esports.
Yeah, Yami.
Здорово, здорово, ребят. всем.
Yami was saying like, yeah, I'm gonna be the better support. I hope you enjoyed your stay in Singapore. You're going home earlier than you thought.
He said, you don't have to stay in Singapore anymore, which I love because it's like, oh, you know, it's been so difficult for you having to keep pace with all these teams, you know, having to work. It's all right, you could go home.
Боже, как долго. Я не могу просто, ребят.
And lay on the other side, just, I'm better than this.
Ага. Неужели? Там рядом с капли начала. Все правильно, в принципе. Урона будет меньше, но зато заранее она стакает. Ну, здесь топ-лейн будут давить, очевидно, кстати. Там Ревна понимает это. Посмотрите, какой вейв настакал Люцин. Это просто жесть, на самом деле. У них есть шансы все убить Ревну. Ну, там сейчас просто тавр спушат на топе. Очень хорошо Люцин за вейв. Очень хорошо здесь они играют. Еще и вторая пачка. Ой-ой-ой, тут надо просто все кнопки Ревне давать в крипов. Вот так, да. Все. Еще. Корки пришел помочь. Ну, там полтавра забрали, FPX. Правда, по фарму все равно Ноба впереди.
Dude, I needed you to just shadow me in case they dove me. I didn't need you to take my wave.
But it's their strategy. I think they recognize that Yiza is going to have a rough time in this melee versus range matchup, and so they're putting as much.
Свапнулись тут уже Нова с мидом. Мы видим. Ну, как свапнулась? Там Галио пришел на помощь, Ариана пока осталась на бот-линии. Здесь Галио просто роумит сейчас, он все равно может прилететь. Ему вообще желательно стоять, да, ближе к миду. На 4-й минуте у них будет свап. Здесь помогает Лисин забрать Прила. Ну, тяжело Ревне против Люцина. Разница в голде там 500. Чуть меньше 2 минут осталось до первого объекта. Там Лисин пока на бот-сайде. На своем ред-сайде. Поэтому сейчас, может быть, даже будет какой-то ганг. Кстати, здесь можно попробовать. Нет, телепорт не сбили. Да, сбили телепорт Рейкану.
Yeah, kind of interesting on the opposite side. We're talking about Long as the expected carry of Nova Esports. They did try that bottom lane gank, came up dry with nothing. And indeed, you can see 0711 trying to steal away some farm. This isn't even really about getting the Jax big, though that's of course a good thing. It's about shutting down.
Минута до объекта. Там Джакс, наверное, будет, скорее всего, сейчас перед объектом должны они забирать Ривен. Но там Ривен дает бэк. Сейчас они будут сапаться все. Да, уже мидер ушел на бот. Бот-линия бежит в мид. Как я и говорил, за минуту до объекта. Наверху тавр потихоньку падает. Тут успеют они задефать, тут Галио пришел. Но это ФБ тавр 100% будет для FPX. Там, правда, Джакс пока что на блюсайде, сейчас придет на свой ред. Выходит в мид, чтобы взять Прила, естественно. Тринити собирает перед сатом. Есть 2 Людена у команды FPX. У каждого уже там по сату, кроме Рейкана, но это саппорт, естественно. Люцен собрал не бортовом, а секиру первым для файта, для трейда. Тринити есть на Джаксе. Моргана, Карма, Людены. Ну, слева тоже по айтему уже есть. Единственное то, что там капля первым сатом у Арианы. Короче, не особо много урона будет и слева, и справа. Здесь, смотрите, герои начинают форсить. Нова почему-то довольно быстро. Я думал, будет наоборот. И не хотят они... это потому что не хотят они тавра отдавать на топе, и здесь вся команда играет. Ну, есть дракон для FPX, там пик вейтовый, поэтому это будет плюс в любом случае. Здесь ФБ тавр все равно не успевают открыть. Нова. Это, кстати, считается неуспешный герольд, если на турнире ты ставишь Герольда и не спушаешь тавер. Ну пока все ровно. И, конечно, я не пойму, почему преимущество у Новы по фарму. Причем всю игру. Не из-за того, что даже сейчас они Герольда выпустили, почти тавер спушили. Здесь хотят, смотрите, закетчить, убить. А, Рейкан бэкнулся. Ну, Джакса будет сложновато убивать. Прям очень сложно будет в эйтгейме. Ариане нужно будет много сетов собирать. Ну и то, под шилдами, я говорю, Джакс под шилдами очень сильный. Тем более, это шилд Кармы и Морганы. Самые сильные в игре. Еще и Рейкан 2 раза. У них весь матчап выстроен на Джаксе. Потому что Люциан это брузер, все. У Кармы не будет урона. Хоть она там фулл АП, хоть у нее 10 сетов. У нее нет дэмэджа вообще. Такого сильного, я имею в виду, хорошего. Весь дэмэдж это только когда у нее снаряды на кушке. А Мариана собирает вторым Люден, ну еще и долго. Пока что урона у Арианы нету. Все тихо, спокойно, просто фармят. Пока что пытаются забрать кто-нибудь из них ФБ Тавер, но все дефут, все пока четко. Здесь Карма немножко продамаживает Корки. Здесь, кстати, Корки может умереть сейчас. Сейчас Джакс через линию зайдет, смотрите. Да, Корки есть? Да, есть. Флэш, экзост. Ну, ФБ Тавер будет? Нет, не хватает. 200 хп у Тавера, не стала ревна рисковать. Ну, в принципе, правильно, там Рейкан W бы дал, прям по Таверам убили бы. Ревну. 200 хп, ФБ Тавер. Хорошо, Рейкан играет, Люциан дает проказ, это ферстблад. Женю прожимает Лисин, ульт от Рейкана. Хороший кик от Лисина, хватит ли урона? Галио сейвит ультой и на 1 хп почти выходит, но это ферстблад. 1-1 размен, очень жесткий файт. Здесь Джакс соло забирает Корки, это очень плохо, потому что там еще и Тавер сейчас заберут. Но есть еще ФБ вышка для Новы. 2-1 в пользу ФПХ, там Джакс камбэкнул. Хороший ультимейт от Кармы, посмотрите, какая стяжка. Там хорошо обе команды сыграли на топе прям. Ну, здесь успевает, даже ТП сразу покупает, чтобы задефать Тавер, но нет, он успевает спушить. Ух. Ревна сейчас очень сильно потеряла. Она купила ТП, можно сказать, просто так. Это прям вообще самое ужасное, что может быть. Сам просто знаю, играя на топе. Еще и не успевает, очень много времени тратит. Это очень плохо, что Корки от Джакса умер. Обратите внимание, что на турнире после первого сета вторым всегда собирают Джоню. 90%. Там уже 3 Джони у ФПХ команды. Есть Герольд, 2-1 счет. Ну, пока что по фарму все ровно. Преимущества такого нету, но ФПХ пока что поувереннее будет. Все-таки Джакс, ну, уже 10-я минута, и потихонечку его время наступает. Герольда нужно забрать, конечно, команде ФПХ, но там Джакс пока на ред бафе. Корки с пакетом. Ну, неплохой пакет. Ну, Рейкан не достает, там Джакс поздно прыгает. Ну, тут Нова хорошо разыгрывает. Мне кажется, рано Рейкан прыгнул, Джакс 1 в 5 вообще прыгает. Ну и 2-2 счет. И здесь, ну, я считаю, что Корки поставил хороший пакет, и реально закрыл просто всю команду, но Рейкан зря прыгнул. Тем более Джакс не успевал. Второй Герольд для Новы. 2-2 счет. На дракона опаздывает команда ФПХ, потому что здесь уже вся... О, там Лисин почему-то назад, смотрите, бежит. Секиру купить, чтобы... Да, очень много времени сейчас потерял из-за этого Лисин. И позицию не успевают занять Нова полностью. На Акале у меня 230, по-моему, игр. 54, по-моему.
Take this time to lower the tension bar a little bit. Honestly,
Равная игра,
it's crazy
очень равная.
that
Посмотрим сейчас, как за объект будут драться.
that long before we finally saw
Там в любом случае для команды FPX у них только один инициатор хороший, это Рейкан. Нужно ждать его ультимейта, который он отдал на Герольде.
to dodge any sign of aggression.
Nova wanted to fight them so badly. We didn't really talk about it at the time. Hi, we didn't really talk about it at the time because there was a lot going on. But the full engage with 3 players that went like behind the Dragon Lane turret at 2-3 minutes, and didn't get anything, was so tragic, but also so impressive from FPX.
And you can just tell why this team is so respected, so admired from many around the world, because they are managing to do things that other teams cannot come close to in terms of execution.
Да, паузы напрягают.
Respected by many, I will say Nova Esports not among the FPX respecters.
That's because they want to take them down, TJ.
Yeah. And some of the disrespect
Из-за чего такие паузы? Разные моменты бывают. Бывает, экран нужно протереть. Бывает, что-то там залагало иногда. Какие-то технические проблемы, там, пинг. Наушники там плохо работают. Ну, карма может у них инициировать ультой. Да это не инициация. Чтобы карма инициировать ультой, нужно, чтобы кто-то застанил под ее ульту. И чтобы она подошла. У нее не такой радиус огромный. И чтобы враги близко стояли. И желательно были, естественно, в стане. Поэтому нет. Это не инициация. Инициация — это когда ты врываешься с прокастом, либо со станом, еще что-нибудь. Либо когда у тебя есть ульт, как у Нами. Тогда ты можешь инициировать файт там на полкарты. Условно. Still going to be a solid contributor to team fights. Fado still will have damage in team fights. Yeah. But they didn't really reap the rewards of having an early game Lucian beyond the fact that it made it more difficult for Long to find any traction.
And it made it difficult, at least at the beginning, for Yitze to move around the map and be able to...
Ну как же долго тут паузы идут? Ну такой матч, и они просто вот этими паузами реально... Я в шоке просто. Весь турнир эти паузы, весь турнир. Ну фиксите это дерьмо уже.
Boom. You did like a gesture, but the audience didn't hear that, so
it's okay. You picked up.
It was like a whoosh gesture, like that's getting washed away.
It's getting swept down.
I liked it. And we have kind of a mixed bag going into the late game.
Понял.
On one hand, you're like, what do you mean mixed bag, TJ? There's a Jax. Yeah, 0711 has the Jax. That will be in the late game. But on the opposite side, you're looking at a full wombo combo engage. So
Ну, Нова сейчас сравняла немножко ситуацию. У них и так все нормально было, но прям Нова достойно играет. А Моргана через фэш, ульт, часы, это можно читать? Да, можно. Просто там враги все убегут, успеют убежать, потому что ульта 3 секунды делая так, да. Можно. Ей легче рутом попасть по одному и сыграть.
Her cooldowns get insanely fast when you get
Shockwave multiple times in the same team fight.
Yeah, and then command attack is one tool that not a lot of people expect to do a considerable amount of damage, but because
that's the little burst around the
no, that's dissonance. The attack is actually...
Рассол, азиаты всегда так играют. Азиаты, они с хорошей головой подходят хладнокровно, у них эмоции внутренние, они сосредоточены. Они не радуются, пока не выиграют первое место. Ну, вот в 95% случаев. Я вот именно про азиатов Потому что для них это ничто. Ну, они... Понимаешь, если бы СНГ команда хотя бы вышла бы из группы, или хотя бы на чемпионат мира попала бы, они бы уже так вот кричали, радовались. Любую игру бы выиграли одну, даже против слабой команды, уже бы кричали. А для азиаты они привыкли. Они у себя в Китае топ-1, все эти команды. Топ-1, топ-2. Поэтому у них цель тут топ-1 занять. Привет, привет, ребят. Да, Z был много раз. Там только от RQ Z был раза 4. На турнире мы видим, что Акали практически неиграбельно. Против сильных команд тяжело очень. Ясо, да. За кого болеешь? Тут без разницы. Я за хорошую игру. Уже за кого я болел, все проиграли. Команды обе очень сильные. Полуфинал. Сегодня мы уже будем знать финалистов. Сегодня определятся финалисты чемпионата мира. И там будет БО7. Просто битва лютая. Поэтому ждем сегодняшние пары, которые выйдут в финал. Сегодня у нас до 3 побед, БО5.
Jax isn't going to be able to get in range. His dash isn't that long. That will change. Come on, guys. Range of the dash, but 0711 will get more comfortable being a frontline engager as we get later. But until then, yeah, your best team fights are going to be on the back foot. You're looking for the Morgana to land a big dark binding, which is, you know, a long-range spell, but in the context of the way these two teams are playing macro, pretty short range. Yeah. And you need Nova Esports to be stepping into you, ideally.
Да, что-то пауза долгая. Это еще и вторая пауза в первом матче. Ух, как напрягает, ребята. Ух, как напрягает. Когда финал 9 числа, ребят. 9 июля. В среду. В среду, говорю, в субботу. Ну, а Кале тяжело, много брузни, контроля, да. Ей сложно. На физе же можно полкоманды развалить, часова. Не-не-не, ты чё? Бро, это самый легко убиваемый герой в компетитив. Он никогда здесь не убьет. Его рыба доджится Жоня, и здесь Жоня вторым слотом. И когда он... Не, у него просто шансов нету. Никогда такого, наверное, не будет, чтобы Физ на таких турнирах убивал команду или что-то... Не. Организаторы помойка. Ну, первый чемпионат мира, да, вот как бы такой именно в Дрифте. Прошлый там можно не считать. Ну, еще игра новая, поэтому я на это списываю. Так, конечно, напрягает. Ладно, продолжаем, неужели? Че у нас... Боже, вы рофлите? Я не пойму. Ах, ребят, мне это тильтит, реально. Я очень много времени на это трачу. Я реально, ну... Вот некоторые говорят, почему ты потом уходишь, я не могу. Вот это меня прям очень сильно злит. Это просто жесть, ребят. Просто жесть. Ну не в полуфинале же, алё, ну пофиксите вы там уже эту проблему. Вы третий раз паузу ставите в первой игре. Там уже вторую игру должны смотреть мы. Цирк. Просто цирк, ребят. Я в шоке. Из-за чего пауза? Да, много чего может быть. Технические неполадки в основном это. Бывает у организаторов там что-то не так. По-разному, много моментов бывает.
If only there were a way to quantify how much Long does for Nova Esports. And here it is. He's got 70 kills across the tournament.
Просто третья пауза в первой игре в полуфинале, ну это вообще позор, конечно, полнейший. Прям это дизреспект просто организаторам. Это просто жесть, я говорю вам, ну. Вот видите, он подошел, у него что-то не работает. Либо звук, либо наушники, либо экран, что-то плохо. Я не знаю, там новые телефоны у всех. Аппаратура вся новая.
That it is possible, especially if Long wins this series and goes on to play in a grand finals, a best of 7 grand finals, that he crosses the 100 kill finish line this tournament. And I don't know, I was talking to our production.
Ой, блин, вон, видите, там проблема у него с устройством, с мобильным. Я так понял, вот с телефоном, короче, у него проблема. Может быть, экран, что-то с экраном.
I mean, I'd be down for just like a cake, given the long, you know.
I was specifically asking for indoor fireworks, and I was told under no uncertain terms that that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah,
I feel like there's a.
У них Samsung, я когда играл в прошлом году, у нас были айфоны 12. Ну там такие же проблемы были. Технические там. Я не знаю почему, но были.
Well,
Who knows that
I've worked at amusement parks before.
Firework technicians?
So, and we ran like fireworks every night.
Wait, you were a firework technician?
No.
Ой, блин, ребята, я не могу столько, но это прям жесть. Я пойду покушаю, наверное. На 5-7 минут. Пойду пере... Че я время трачу? Мне все равно потом кушать иди. Сейчас пойти поесть лучше. Я просто, ну это бред.
Well, I'm glad that I was able to illustrate that problem for you. Oh, wait, hang on. Do that again. You guys didn't see it, but me and TJ have...
Absolutely not. Nova Esports.
Комментаторы, конечно, через каждую секунду смех, но это прям кринж. Я честно в шоке. Не знаю, что тут смешного. Там смешно то, что говно аппаратура. Я имею в виду говно организация. Или что? Странно. Тут не смеяться, тут плакать надо. Не, я пошел, наверное, покушаю, да, ребят. Ну, это невозможно. Я хотел первый матч хотя бы, потом быстро поесть. Я просто не знаю, сколько, 20-30 минут ждать, 10. Я все равно здесь с телефона смотрю, я с вами. Пойду поем, ребят.
But on the opposite side of things, you have FPX who are maybe a little more difficult to talk about. They're the best team in China. We know that because they won the WRL. But what do? Everyone kind of talks about 0711, who is really good tactically, but that's not as flashy as, oh, I've got 70 kills in this tournament. But the thing he's really good at is he's really good at repairing lanes. And the thing that FPX are really good at is finding individual picks in team fights. Their frontline management is really good. And specifically, I want to highlight the way that they play around their damage dealers, the way that they play around the middle of their actions in team fights.
I'm just taking notes here. I'm just
okay.
Listening to everything you say. Keep going.
Sure. Yezi and Xiaoma.
I am in the TJ class right now.
Yezi and Xiaoma, who are on the bottom half of their map, play as damage dealers. And Xiaoma is oftentimes left alone. Like you'll see during this game, he's on Orion on the opposite side of the map with nobody really backing him up. And the big thing that he does is, despite falling behind in the early game, despite sitting very, very low on the CS markers in your average game at 12 minutes, Xiaoma, the Dragon laner of 4 FPX, has a negative 13 CS difference. That means he's killed 13 less creeps on average than his lane opponent. But that's because oftentimes his lane opponents are getting ganks, they're getting set up, they have a support. Oftentimes Lei will leave Xiaoma completely alone on the map. And he's still able to show up in the team fights. He does 24% of the team's damage on average in team fights.
24%?
Despite that deficit.
Is there a decimal after
powering through.
Okay.
And the only player who does more damage in teamfights for FPX is Yezi. And neither of those players are the flashy players who get early gold. But both those players are the people who play scaling champions, who play things like Orianna and Corki, and are going to get to the late game and be able to just sit at the back line of the teamfights and plink away, while 0711 and Fado are on the front lines, occupying space. And that's the whole dream for FPX, is we're going to play this teamfight perfectly, we're going to do real damage in the fights, and you're not even going to be able to identify where it's coming from.
Processing that for me seems like they are, even though you don't necessarily see in flare or fireworks motion what FPX are doing, they're constantly making decisions so fluidly that it looks like nothing is happening. But it's just them creating almost a cloud of pressure that is so omniscient that the enemy team is always feeling it. And any decision they want to make, they suddenly feel like, I don't want to do this decision anymore. This feels like a bad idea.
FPX do a really good job, not just like on the map. Obviously, we make a big deal out of macro whenever we talk about smart teams. Like, oh, this team's so smart. You think like, oh, well, they're taking control of the map in a really interesting way. But what they do more than that is they have really, really good control of team fights. The way that they set up in team fights to enable their carries is the secret. And I think a huge part of that is the players that I haven't mentioned so far, the players that have kind of been an afterthought. Fado and Lei. And yes, Lei is the support player, so he's definitely not on any of the damage charts. But he roams so early. He's out of that lane and into the team fights.
Like
finding
literally
huge knockups, finding huge engage.
Literally the first second of the game even.
Yeah.
He'll come out to Fado's lane and it's like, hey, is there another support here? Can I get you some early vision? Can I do something cheeky? They even do it when they have Senna lane setups as well, and instead of Lei going, because he's going to be farming in the bottom side of the map, it's Xiaoba that shows up. We saw that against RRQ as well.
Yeah. And oftentimes Fado is on, like, something really distracting, which I think is the secret, because FPX are really good at putting Fado on, like, a Fiora, or something that's going to be really terrifying to deal with, and he'll get the ganks, he'll get the early attention like the Lucian this game. And then come late game, they will be able to use the fact that you're running from Fado, use the fact that Lei is landing big engage to set up for the rest of your team to do damage. The other thing we don't see as much from FPX, but I'm going to set it up because we have like a big pause now.
Sure.
The other thing we don't see as much from FPX, and I'm hoping that we'll get to see from them again in this tournament, is the full CC pick composition, where everyone on the team has stuns, and they have a little bit of this here, and you'll see them in team fights hold this like inverted U shape. Where the very bottom of the U, the kind of bottom of the U is pointed towards the enemy team. And so they can walk forward with Fado, with 0711 on tankier characters at the very front of this inverted U, and any part of that U can engage with a stun. And so they can't be surrounded by their opponent. Nova Esports find it very hard to engage against that, because every single member in that little formation can start the fight. And then whenever they land a stun, the rest of FPX will jump on it like sharks.
Yeah, it's a contrast to a big common position that we have seen from a majority of the Western teams, I think, showed it a lot. For anyone that played a lot of real-time strategy games growing up, you'll normally see there's like line formation where front line, first line, right? And
Fortress style, as we talk about in this game, where you have the tanks up front,
back line,
you have like a
directly
Varus in the back line,
directly behind them.
Some like assassins that will hunt the kills once they're low HP.
Yeah.
That's how Chinese teams played at the very beginning of the season, and now Western teams kind of started playing throughout the season.
Yeah. The ways that people would differentiate from that playstyle and try to get around Fortress is something called a flank formation, where you have one core approaching from the left side of an objective, and then you'll have the assassins looking to pick them off and coming up on the right side of the flank to make sure that they can pick apart the fortress. But because of this U formation that you brought up for FPX, it gives them the most optimal coverage everywhere around them. And it's the least amount of distance between each player.
Here are the stats for that top lane matchup we've been talking about. As I said, Fado, a leader in the game will get all the early attention. He's oftentimes left alone. You know, you will receive some pressure if Long's doing well, but Long isn't there to boost Yuza. Long is there to boost his own bank account. He's showing up to the influencer party to take selfies of himself standing by the pool. And because of that, Yuza's numbers don't look as good, whereas Fado does get enabled by 0711. I think, truthfully, they're equivalently skilled players, and you can see the markers of that in their teamfight stats, where Yuza's look much better. The teamfight stats specifically are damage dealt per minute, which is a very good indicator of how you're playing mid-teamfight. Yuza's really high, Fado's a little bit lower, because he's oftentimes playing split pushers, he's oftentimes playing assassin characters, sitting in the side lanes on something like a Fiora or a Lucian, which is really good across the map. Not as significant in the team fights, despite the attention he gets, and therefore his higher kill participation and KDA.
It's pretty cool to see that out of Fado, because going into the knockout stages, we've identified and we have confirmed that FPX have some of the best 5-on-5 decision-making and execution. But it's not necessarily like the only playstyle that they go to, and FPX have clearly demonstrated an aptitude towards the split push and being able to choke and stranglehold enemy teams out of resources through the pressure on the side lanes.
And Fado is oftentimes in the team fights as well as in the split push. He can do both. The only difference I'm drawing here is that during those team fights, Yuza is really good. Yuza is really good at
he really excels in that
presence. You'll oftentimes see him on things like Renekton, spending his HP bar as a resource is the shorthand I often use. He also uses his Zhonya's perfectly. If you get a Renekton who like dominuses into the front line and then stasises, you can't walk past him. And you can see Yuza demonstrating that predilection right now as we get back into the game. Tab back in if you're listening on audio. We've got gameplay again, and we've got a dragon fight.
Rift Herald has been deployed as well on the bottom side of the map. That's going to be maybe a distraction towards FPX. Nova going to try to use that to take away FPX's focus away from the Dragon Pit.
Yeah, so FPX roaming right here, poking away, trying to draw FPX away from this fight. Nova force their way in.
This minion wave, Neon is holding it all day right through.
Huge
Three-man taunt from Yami. It locks at the core of the FPX, and they have to back away from the side of the river.
But the damage trade goes all right because Neon hovers in the side, dumping out damage. Now he's focused by Fado, but the kill doesn't come through. He's badly split.
Huge knock-up from Lei.
5v4.
It sets up 0711. He gets exhausted. He flashes forward, but now he's blinking on HP. Nova silence 0711, and Neon goes golden, but he is isolated by. But a good flash away from the pit, and he Valkyries over the wall. He gets out alive. No one goes down from Nova.
And Remake's still full HP. He steps forward. Lei and Fado all need to back away. Without the presence of 0711, they can't take this dragon, and they know it. So FPX reset away from the dragon as that fight was played on the brink of disaster. Nova Esports are going to get to claim the second dragon of this game.
And by pushing the tempo, immediately recycling in teleports as well for Yitse so that he can step up in case anyone from FPX dare to challenge. It's the dragon secure for Nova.
And it's Neon who is the hero, playing on the side of that fight and doing a huge amount of damage. He gets focused by Fado, who commits a full culling to trying to shut him down. Manages to survive and get back into the fight. Then he's in an awkward position because he's like on the flank. Everyone turns to focus him. A pixel perfect flash Valkyrie gets him behind the pit and to safety.
Honestly, that is like one of the coolest quirky plays we have seen the entire tournament. And
Absolutely.
it wasn't necessarily like a quirky specific mechanic. It's just the position awareness of how Neon can escape a critical death.
Yeah, really well played by Neon in that team fight. And it does give Nova Esports a slight advantage. The second drink of the game goes to their pocket, and they do have a very minor gold lead, hovering around 3,000 now. The combination of that and the previous skirmishes going their way.
We're at 13 minutes now into the game. The second dragon going over Nova. Run! They are hunting for 0711. Kicking to the wall. Dude. No flash available. I think you might be right. He's going to try to buy as much time as he can. Lei cannot get in range. Whoa! Three-man knock-up. 0711, no way, he gets out alive, but it's the wind slash comboed with Long's damage that takes out FPX's jungler. They're still fighting onto the front line. Xiaoma gets deleted. Nova, do they turn for the Baron?
FPX commit too much to try and save their jungler because they know if the jungler goes down, its objective's over to Nova. And you're absolutely right. Nova could burn the Baron, but I think at this rate they also have enough of an advantage that they don't need to take that risk.
They are looking for the minion wave instead, ensuring the push. Valdo expends the ignite, creating pressure on the Long. It looks like FPX are able to successfully defend the mid turret, but Nova pulling ahead in these fights. 5,000 gold now at 14 minutes.
Yeah, Nova didn't actually get a whole lot of an advantage from the fight. Let's take another look. 0711 caught out here at the very front of the fight. He jumps forward, buys a ton of time really well, and then the rest of his team commits so hard to trying to save him that they have nothing left in recourse when Long dives into the backlines, assassinates a member, and then bails, leaving Xiaoma overextended because they know they can't find 5v4 around Xiaoma.
At this point, FPX have to reconsider how they are taking these fights. Since that was a pick that Nova executed on, the fact that FPX almost salvaged it from a 4-man knockup that Lei created, you can see that where FPX can shine if they fight on their terms.
Nomicon coming online as well for Remake is a huge power spike. He's completed the Archangel staff. Remake is going to do huge damage in the backlines of these fights from here on. As we've already talked about, Neon is doing massive damage in the side of these fights. And so Nova have the game in their hands for now. When will FPX come online? Well, right about now. 0711 has been power farming. He's completed his wit's end. As he's completed Rabadon's death cap. They can seem fight at any moment. They just need to win it.
Triple item completion for FPX's jungler means that this is going to be a prime time where Jax can look to clean up the fights. But the fact that Long is maintaining this gold advantage through the advantageous skirmishes that they fought.
Так, что тут пауза прошла, ребят, я здесь. О, Нова ведет. 7 тысяч, ой, 5 тысяч фарма, серьезная разница. Здорово, кто присоединился, ребят, я отходил, потому что пауза была 3 долгих, а так я здесь. Офигеть, у Новы все прекрасно, там сеты уже появляются. Что там у Джакса? 12 тысяч, 13 тысяч. 4-0 Ривен, серьезно? С учетом того, что на полуигры терпела против Люцина. Офигеть. Хорошо Нова играет. А что тут по объектам? 1-1. Ну вот проблема, о чем я и говорил. У Кармы, у Морганы не будет урона. Хоть АП, хоть АД. Разницы нет. Единственная надежда на победу — это Джакс, который никогда не выиграет это в соло. Я не знаю, как это могут FPX выиграть. У них нет фронтлейна. У них дэмэдж — это только Джакс с руки. Просто, ну... Это очень сложно будет выиграть. Посмотрим, может как-то на ошибках, еще что-то. Ну, у Люцина вот хороший дэмэдж еще. Люцин нормально дамажит. Привет, Вора. Спасибо большое. Приветствую всех. 5-2 счет, по голде там почти 5000 разница. 18-я минута. Ариана скелется. Собирает Рабадон. Здесь Элдер появляется. Инфернальный, тем более. Вот сейчас игра решится. Здесь посмотрим. Может, Нова ошибиться. Будет на ошибках как-то. Ошибаться, если... Ну, тяжело. Корки с пакетом. Ривен выходит снизу. Ой, как тяжело будет FPX тут выиграть. Прям я чувствую. Лисин начал бить Элдера. А Люциан на топе? Серьезно? Без ТП? Почему? Люциан. Это ГГ, ребят. Почему Люциан на топе был? Взрывайте объект. 4 в 5. Это ГГ для FPX. Я не понимаю, почему Люциан ушел. Хороший корки дает пакет. Очень хорошо Нова играет. Неплохой ульт от Кармы. Там Карма пытается. Будет ли... Нет, Элдер для Новы. Галио ульт. Почему Люциан ушел и Джакса забирают здесь? Ну это ГГ, все. 1-0, Нова. Люциан тайминги проиграл. Здесь так нельзя играть. Они не видели. Там, короче, у них был вард. Короче, у них был вард. Как он называется? Короче, краб на драконе. А Лисин обошел его и прыгнул сзади. И, короче, именно варда в драконе не было, а был вижен от краба. И Лисин его бил, а они думали, что там никого нету. Там не видно было Лисина. Лисин начал взрывать объект. Люцин в это время убежал. ГГВП 1-0. Ну тут без шансов прям в конце. Очень сильно сыграли Нова. Тут 10-2 счет. Против таких фаворитов, тем более. 1-0. Молодцы. Не, красавцы, реально. Очень хорошо сыграли. Но Люцин не то что заруинил ребят, он просто ушел, потому что Лисин начал... Но он не должен был выходить. Там, тем более, все нормально было, там ничего не пушилось. Лисин по-умному сделал. Просто через W прыгнул сзади дракона туда. И вард от краба не доставал его, а вижена не было в драконе. И они не знали, бьет Лисин или нет, а он все это время бил. Там файт начался, уже пол хп у дракона не было. А Люцин только бежал. Ну и уже по пику там вот и по киллам, по сатам, ну, конечно, у Новы было все равно намного, ну, сильнее они были. Даже если бы Люцин был бы, я не думаю, что прям сильно так изменилось что-то. Но в любом случае было бы лучше для FPX, однозначно. Я думал, Люциан с телепортом. Я когда увидел, что он на топе, я думаю, офигеть, он 100% с телепортом, а потом открыли сборки, он с Женей. Я думаю, офигеть, так тебе бежать еще полминуты. Ну, там, условно говоря.
I don't know what you're talking about. Let's toss things over to someone who knows exactly what you're talking about. Hi, Digon.
That's not Digon.
Жалко. Я имею в виду, жалко, что такой файт последний получился. 4 в 5.
What's up, guys? It's now just me. I'm solo casting. TJ is gone out of shame.
It's clearly me. Bye, TJ.
Bye, TJ.
Bye, TJ. Bye, TJ.
He didn't say bye to me. He didn't say bye to Mika. He
No,
said
no.
bye
Because I'm a
Riku.
bestie. Because I'm a bestie.
I'm not hurt or anything by that.
I mean, it's clearly Miku that's here.
I'm just all
Miku
by
and
my
Omo.
lonesome.
Так, ребят, я чай
Miku and
допью.
Omo.
Пока
So-
что.
Alright, we'll take that.
Отключу микрофон.
Yeah. But you know what we won't take? We won't take that loss by FPX. This was almost we did predict FPX. This was not an FPX that we grew to be familiar with throughout the group stages. This was an FPX that was very much caught off guard every single time too.
Yeah, and the manner in which they lost as well. Frankly, Nova just looked like they outclassed FPX in that game one. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that's the first game that FunPlus Phoenix have lost the entire Icons Global Championship.
That is correct. That is correct. Imagine FPX has been winning all throughout, a lot of 2-0s, and now they've tasted their first defeat here in Icons at the semifinals. That's a huge thing.
Yeah, and we saw from the earlier videos that FPX, when they do take a loss, they really do take it to heart, but also that they have suffered this kind of defeat, and it was also Nova Esports that was able to deliver it to them. So, Omo, we talked about this, but FPX, they're known as a powerhouse team, 5v5s and all that. We talked about that during the pre-show. There didn't seem to be any opportunity at all for them to actually show the 5v5s because they were getting picked off.
A couple of things come into that, right? First of all, individual performances were not what we expected as well. Fados Lucian needed to get a lead. That was the whole point of the draft. Lucian has to be ahead of Riven. And you saw how well Iza held on. You saw how well Iza's teammates allowed him to hold on. And he's ended the game something like 5-0-2 or something like that, not dying a single time, not taking much punishment in the Baron lane, losing that Lucian factor. Lei's individual performance, frankly, was baffling to me. This was not the Lei we've come to expect. Everything just seemed to collapse from FPX in game one.
Yeah, good thing you did bring up Lui because we were just hyping him up as definitely one of the best supports. But his and I mentioned his Rakan, a big fan of his Rakan, but that wasn't it in this game. We were calling this behind the scenes. He was missing so many of his engages, and it just didn't seem like an FPX that was really ready to meet the force that Nova had. And I feel like it wasn't.
Riku's
so
excited.
Much, it wasn't so much that FPX was like that Nova was doing anything different because FPX was just falling behind.
That's true. Imagine before the series even started, we're talking about FPX is the best team fighting team in the tournament. But when we look at one of the first instances, mainly that dragon fight that we saw earlier, it was the very first chance that we get to see the big 5v5 happen. And at the end, it was Nova having the better positioning. They were able to dodge a lot of these key ults coming from FPX, and knowing the fact that, okay, they've blown all of their key ults. This is the time that we can retaliate. This is the time we have better positioning. Their target prioritization from Nova is just so good. And the fact that the composition, look at the composition of FPX. They're very squishy. If you funnel all of your skills, funnel all of your CCs, you're able to immediately make it into a 4v5. At the end of the day, it was a very big toss and turn, but what I really, really love to point out is the spacing of Nova as well. The way that they push and pull with FPX means that they know FPX, how they fight, basically in a 5v5 team fight. One thing that I also want to point out, shout outs to Nian, by the way, I want to show this drawing. I don't know if you guys can see it, but Nian had Hullbreaker as the Corki. Okay, that's a black screen. Nian had Corki. Nian was on a Corki and had Hullbreaker. You know, we are very annoyed at Hullbreakers and they use it on team fights.
I'm fond of it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So how does he cancel out the Hullbreaker? Nian was separated from his team and is basically in the middle all this time. Therefore, nearby still, but the Hullbreaker stats are still in play. Look at the black dots there. That's the rest of the members of Nova. The red dots are FPX.
Oh,
I thought it was.
That's what it was.
I thought it was a flanking Corki, but no, he was just utilizing the Hullbreaker and play in the mid lane. I think that's a very smart positioning.
Just think of it like Nova, Miku, and I am Corki, just by my lonesome.
Yeah. Think of it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's it. Actually, we matched the dots that you drew on.
Ah, that's true.
Yeah. Thank you for that very colorful illustration. I like the effort on the colors. Very, very accurate. But yes, this was. I'm very surprised because we've definitely seen the best out of FPX. This was not what I was expecting.
Far from it. Let me give you a bit of hopium here, Mika, and the rest of the FPX supporters at home. I feel like this loss does not reflect entirely upon FPX. I feel like this does not reflect upon their strengths. Look at the draft that both of these two teams played out. I think that Nova had some amazing prep. They shifted their focus towards the early, mid-game team fighting comp. I think the snatch on the Corki first pick was amazing from them as well. We touched on how Iza had an over-reliance perhaps on that champion. I think overall the draft was great from the side of Nova. But on the side of FPX, this is not how they traditionally play. We talk about how they like stable team comps. You have scaling, you have the ability to team fight. This draft was not that. If they go back to basics in the next game, I think they have a much better shot.
I certainly hope so, because if this was a very different side of FPX, I certainly hope that this was a lot of potential information gathering,
testing stuff out.
Maybe they were testing stuff out. Maybe they were feeling out how Nova was feeling. Yeah, it is a best of 5. Thanks for jumping on board the copium train, by the way, Riku. Thanks for that. But now let's relive how Nova took the lead in this series in our HyperX call of the game.
They're so long on these death timers, Mark. I think that's game number 1 of our semi-final.
And Nova Esports surprising FPX, not only being the first team to take a game off of FPX this entire Icons tournament, but taking game 1 of this series.
There's something about games.
What you're doing there gives you real chills.
There is one thing that can't be stopped.
Feelings. And if you can feel it,
it must be real, right?
And that's
real magic.
doing it all. I'm here to win 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 it all.
Nova Esports leading the series with one game. I'm pretty confident though, Omo, that FPX can catch up. I mean, we did predict the 3-1. This could be the one, right?
Just no more Lucian, and I think FPX, they are good to go here. It's one of those picks which we've seen a lot of priority on. I think it's one of the scrim champions that I always talk about, especially in the hands of Fado. You have a lot of pressure to get him a lead early. Failing that, things just get so hard for FPX.
Yeah, and I feel like it's also a draft threat. I feel like
Yes.
Lucian seems to be the pick just for the draft, not exactly in game, to prevent, you know, the mind games. You know Fado can play a lot of these champions at top, Zed, Lucian, things that you normally see in the mid lane or in the jungle, taking it to top side. So it's incredibly very strong if you do pick it, but unfortunately it didn't work out.
It's a gambit, right? If you
Yeah.
win the game with the Lucian, your opponent has to think about it for the rest of the series, the potential flex of the Lucian to the top lane. If you lose with it, you just need to reset your mantle and say, okay guys, let's not pick this champ anymore for this series, and we're good to go.
I also want to bring up something that Riku brought up in the pre-show. Your bold prediction about Long playing 5 unique champions.
Okay.
Okay, so he has Lee Sin.
He can't use that anymore.
He can't use that anymore.
Okay, he has
you
a st-
banned it for him.
I banned it.
Someone let his coach know real quick.
Pretty much. If he picks Lee Sin again for the second time, like my bold prediction is out of the window.
Yeah. What do you think he's leaning towards now? Is he leaning more towards maybe a more late game kind of jungler?
Yeah, Kha'Zix.
Ooh.
FPX is still opting to go for red side, so this is... Maybe they'll try to snatch away the Lee Sin, right? If you give the cocky 1 again, you can go for the Lee Sin 1-2. I think that would be great for 0711, and that would be great for Riku's prediction as well.
Yay.
Yeah, yay.
Yay me.
Yay you. Well, right now, Riku's predictions are doing pretty well, but as we mentioned, it's just game 2.
Yeah.
This is a best of 5, and right now we have Zed as the first ban on the board. Omo, how are you feeling about this? No, and Sitch as well comes on in and sent on the side of FPX with a Yuumi.
We did kind of criticize like Yezi's champion pool, but Singe is one of the picks which he's the most effective on. I don't have the exact stat on hand right now, but I believe he's 13-0 with it in the WRL. He has not lost a single game with Singe in WRL.
And it's so perfect too, right? Singe answers a lot of the playmaking champions that has a lot of dashes. So Nova wants to get that out of the window. And Karma, while FPX lost earlier, basically got a ton of respect to make sure that 7-11 doesn't get the support and the utility that he needs.
Because he lost that game, he's now 07-11. If he had won that game, he's 07-11.
True.
That's how it works.
That's how it works.
Yeah. That's how
we
it
figured it
works.
out.
Okay. Right now, we are seeing the Corki come on in for Nova
Another
and
bait champ.
Jace.
Nice.
Yeah.
From one bait champ to another. Cool, FPX.
It's Jace.
But now we have Jax coming on in. How are you feeling about this? This means that that is out of the hands of Long. It could be the Kha'Zix coming in for Long still.
Lino? It's Lino?
It could be another Lee Sin, honestly. Like earlier, Nova...
but you said
my bold prediction's out of the window. Again, although, okay, fine, Nova won with this draft. It's like, let's not change what's not broken. FPX, on the other hand, Jace has been very 50-50. If you get ahead, sure. If you don't get ahead, fine. I'll default to 1-3-1. It's totally cool. One thing that's left open, though, is the Wukong. And Wukong has been one of the, while it can be offensive, is also a defensive answer. two mechanical champions. Like if Lee Sin goes in, if a Riven goes in, you just pop Cyclone and you basically disrupt the entire combo.
But this is very interesting to me because on the side of FPX, they have many potentially flexible champions.
True.
But they just show it all. Jace is going mid,
Yeah.
Wukong's going top, Jax is going jungle. You have the flexes, but you show everything immediately, and that raises the question of what are you holding here for your Dragon Lane? Because if you're dropping Xiaoma and Lei's pick to fall 5, you gotta have something prepared here. Why else would you show your entire top side like this?
Exactly, you need utility. The rest of this from FPX are damage heavy and setup. You need, like another Black Shield, you need shields for 7-Eleven to survive in these team fights.
And we saw earlier that FPX, their mood was very, very somber as they gathered for their huddle. They had their energy was really very serious and of course very, very down coming from that loss. We saw from the earlier video that they don't take losses very lightly, whereas on the other hand, for Nova Esports, they were actually pretty chill.
Yeah.
They were pretty chill, like not
They
like,
won.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were chill, and it's just affirmation that what they're doing, their strategy here, really just setting up long and following through with all that, that seems to be working
go.
for them.
Wow.
Now we have a Morgana coming in for FPX.
FPX are really changing things up here on the semi-final stage. I think if you're looking at what they drafted in groups and quarters even, there will be a high priority on the Ziggs right here.
Yep.
Something like Ziggs Cocky was something they won a lot of games with. But now they're just doubling down on the 0711, you must carry us kind of team composition. You still have Poke in the form of Jace, but it's a bit of a change up from what they would usually play. And that's very interesting to me. Why now?
I feel like this is the time they can do 131. Meanwhile, for Nova, they popped in the Ziggs, which means they're opting for more of a lot of raw damage again for 5v5s and a lot of poke on the other hand. So Nova, what is lacking to me is a very good disengaged support like the Gragas. I feel like Gragas is going to be incredibly important here.
They really just flipped the drafts again.
Yeah.
Blue side is an FPX draft, red side is a Nova draft. They just did the same thing as game 1. What's going on here? I want to know what's going on behind the scenes in these teams' minds.
Well, currently we do see, and the Galio coming in, locking that down for Nova Esports. We do see Nova kind of taking on this sort of like chameleon-like identity. So if FPX is drafting a Nova draft and Nova drafting an FPX draft, so far it seems to be Nova is better at adapting to this than FPX is.
I just think that the champions at Nova are once again just stronger than what FPX have.
For sure.
FPX is so reliant on that Jax to pop off. And you see how well these WRL teams team fight sometimes. The kiting around it is too good.
And the fact that, yeah, you're right, the kiting, the range, that means 0711 is going to have a very hard time reaching these backline carries. He has to set up flanks. And now with the Gragas being enabled, that means FPX, when these 5v5s, if they're not confident in the team fight, they can just opt out.
Well, I do really think that, like, okay, so Nova got that one game for prediction support.
True,
Of course, FPX, I really do hope they know what they're doing. But I gotta say, Omo, I'm actually not feeling too confident.
I'm not. I mean, there are some tools that FPX can play around. Jace's early game, Jax scaling, and the Gragas barrel to displace the Ziggs, the Cocky. But overall, I like Nova's chances more.
True. Yeah. Well, that's what Miku and Omo think. What do Rafa and TJ think?
I'll tell you, Miko, what we think. Even though that this series...
You had to think about it.
Yeah,
you had to think about what you thought.
I was getting ready for the Crusher.
Okay, all right.
Long and 0711. Big storyline matchup here. I'm going to take that storyline and flip it down to the support role because Yami had an insane game-winning engage 3-man taunt, and his statement to Lei summed up in the teaser video we saw, I'm a better support than you.
And we've seen that across game number 1. It wasn't about the statement lanes that this match normally is about. Fado completely neutralized. Jungle matchup completely neutralized. Yes, Long had some good performances in the later team fights, but frankly, it was about Remake, it was about the bottom side of their map with Yami, finding those massive engages for Remake. Nova Esports up 1 game in this best of 3 off the power of the bottom half of their map.
Remake forced to play a different champion this time around. Orianna taken away.
Oh.
It's the Ziggs, but Yami making a run back on the Galio, baby.
Yeah, Ziggs coming out. Staple, a little bit less scaling power than the Orianna, but longer ranged. Yami here on the Galio, as you talked about, and Nyan, who had an incredible game 1, getting his Corki again.
I really liked how Riku brought up Neon's usage of the Hullbreaker in those team fights and isolating himself so he could maximize the Hullbreaker stats. I don't think that's something that we have seen that often being cognitive in this tournament.
Yezi on the opposite side of that matchup here is going to have the tools to fight during the early game. So the big marker is, does Yezi get to do huge burst damage to Neon in those shock blasts? Does he have an answer in the side lanes with a hull breaker of his own? Because this Corki isn't just Neon's Corki, it's also Yezi's Corki.
I think it was like, what, 7 games of Corki this entire tournament? That's a lot.
That's remarkable. I think that's exactly right, Mark. So, yeah, Yezi has played a ton of Corki. And it's being taken away from him, which is forcing him to reach deeper in his pool.
Karma didn't work out too well for Fun plus Phoenix. This time it's the Jace, something that can contest and look for split pushing.
We talked a lot about Long during the last game. He didn't find the early game control that you expect from a Lee Sin. Still was relevant, but we got to go back to it. This is a game where Long needs to find early game gold. This is yet another game where FPX have so far avoided the threat. So far being 2 minutes in, doesn't sound like a whole lot, but Long normally very active in those first 2 minutes. So every moment that FPX stalls out and drags this on without Long finding early gold is a success.
And something that's also uncharacteristic for FPX when you look back at the other games that they've played so far this tournament, around this time you would see 0711 and Lei roaming towards the top side of the map, trying to push and help a dive for Fado, get some plates on. This has not happened so far.
Yeah, Fado is such a reliably good top laner. He so reliably wins the top lane matchup. You can see him shoving Yiza underneath his own turret. And so FPX normally, when that shove is in force, gank the lane and shut down whatever poor soul is pinned behind their turret. But 0711 so far hasn't felt the confidence to do that. And I think part of that is Long. Whenever we've seen 0711 and FPX have presence up in the top lane, it has been successful. They did get some kills onto Yuza last game, but it was always with pressure surrounding him, with the rest of Nova roaming up and limiting the damage. Just as FPX are containing Long, Nova are containing Fado.
Unfortunately for 0711, he's on top of a ward, so Yami and Remake don't bite any of the bait that Xiaoma was fishing for them. It forces him to stay a little longer than he would have liked.
But it was like a double bait. Because 0711 is down here in the bottom lane. The reason he's doing that is to cover for the fact that Lei is up roaming in the mid lane now. He was up top a moment ago. So it's more an efficiency rotate than anything else, I think, from FPX. Like, yeah, it would be really nice if they'd found a bottom side kill. But also, because of the way that the players were positioned on the map, they just managed to have 2 players down supporting Xiaoma. And now that the wave is crashing, there'll still be 2 players supporting Xiaoma, and Lei was able to have presence in the opposite side of the map during that time.
Oh ho ho, but Yezi sees 3 people coming towards his face, and he flashes away just in time to get out. But now the 2-man engage from Yami and Remake capitalizes for first blood.
Because they see the roam from Lei. So, brilliant engage by Nova in the middle of the map, and Yezi manages to dodge all of it with the use of summoner spells. Excellent little knockback, followed by a really good sidestep with the shock blast, gets him to safety. But during that time, Lei rotates out of the bottom side to try and save his mid laner, and Nova Esports go, okay, well, we can make this play happen down bottom, and they shut down Xiaoma before he can respond.
It's a fluid tactical game from both of these teams. As soon as one team shows their pieces
Я тут, ребята.
on the map, the enemy team will strike immediately. And for
1-0 Нова.
they're the ones that lose out on the trade. Nova Esports now net themselves a solid 1,000 gold lead.
Все, больше я не отвлекаюсь. Я здесь. Но я смотрел с телефона. Я просто кушал, чай пил. Сразу. Сидеть долго. Зато теперь все. Так, ну что, у нас пока Нова 1-0 ведет по игре. Именно сейчас. Также по общей игре. Первую карту они забрали. По картам тоже 1-0. Опять у них Ривен, Лисин, Корки, Галио. Почти тот же самый драфт, кстати, у Новы. Ой, как дамажит больно Корки. Ой-ой-ой, как идеально Нова просто сейчас играет. Они выгнали Джакса, он все равно фышает, забирает дракона. Хороший файт был там. Корки, если... Корки, получается, дает пакет, и как раз Галио ультит. Надо было остаться Корки. Тут второй килл уже для Ривен. Мне не отстает трансляция, у меня задержка. На стриме просто там 10 секунд, 7 даже.
Second charge!
Can we talk about how much work Neon is putting in both Game 1 and Game 2? He's doing a great job of being able to handle so much.
Я что-то не пойму, неужели 3-0 здесь будет? Ну прям очень хорошо играют, но прям... Здесь у них такой же драфт, только вместо Рианы Зикс. А так, по сути, все одинаково, ничего не поменялось. И Зикс такой же, как и Ариана, даже Верли намного полезней.
Fado having to call over late because he knows he's in the extended side of the map. We're about to have 4 members pushing towards the Baron lane.
And so FPX have signed into this 4-1 split, where there's constantly going to be a Neon and Yezi on the opposite side of the map playing in kind of their own 1v1 kingdom, and the rest of the game is going to be decided by the 4v4. And frankly, Nova have the better players so far in that side lane. A lot of this game rests on Yezi containing that.
Ой, сейчас извиняюсь.
When we came into the series, the expectation for FPX was that they were comfortable taking the 50-50 across all lanes because the results were our laners are playing better than every other laner in the tournament. But Nova are stepping up to the challenge and they're answering them in every lane.
Yeah, and it's very rare that FPX get through early games with a goal deficit because they're normally basically winning everywhere. And so the fact that we're now seeing an FPX in a position they haven't been since the middle of their regular season, behind in golden lanes and having to respond is really interesting. Because 0711 has frankly always looked weak at doing and managing to get an advantage in lane for his players. And so he's defaulting to his other strategy, which is okay.
Опять Джакс потихоньку фармит. Ну что-то не особо... Короче, преимущество вот в 2 играх в начале по фарму, даже если счет 0 у Новы, как-то Нова лучше играет. Причем намного лучше, прям видно. Мне кажется, им надо Ривен забанить. Ривен или Лисина. Лисин 7200. Опять Моргана, вот тяжело реализуется чемпион в компетитив. Причем еще и дэмэджа не хватает. Вуконг на топе. Джейс практически без урона в тимфайте будет. Бортовым секира, ну, особо дэмэджа не дадут ему в файте. Только выживаемость. Короче, все идет к тому, что это 2-0 будет. Как я вижу. 3000 по голде разница. Ну, здесь они забирают тавер, да. Но при этом теряют Герольда. Ну, я думаю, что это единственный адекватный плей. Вот здесь хорошо играет Грагас с бочки, но дал ее рано. Даже объекты начали лететь. Но там успевает Джакс прибежать. Еще и берет в миду Прио с Джейсом. Сейчас будем смотреть. Вуконг должен прыгать уже. На Вуконга кидает шут Моргана. Вуконг влетает. Хороший дает ультимейт. Здесь Ривен заходит в бэклайн. Галио дает хороший ульт под Ривен. Застанет двоих. Герольда забирает у нас FPX. Но Нова здесь Галио очень хорошо ультанул. Хороший тайминг. Хорошая ешка от Галио. И плюс еще 2 килла. 4-0 в пользу Новы. Да, Галио, конечно, идеальный ульт дал. 15 секунд до дракона.
But then when it comes time to teamfight, it looks like FPX might be able to turn it into massive taunt from Yami that combines to get them a teamfight win and a mid turret. FPX, congratulations on your Rift Herald. Hope you can turn it into a turret because that's what you just lost.
The Rift Herald, before FPX were down only 2,000 gold, they're now down almost 4,000.
Stonks.
Not the stonks that you want.
Oh, right.
Negative stonks.
But they got the Rift Herald. Surely that's good.
They have to use it.
Oh, yeah, okay. Bad investment from FPX.
Unlucky.
Yeah. This poor Jax is going to have to keep farming his own jungle as well because it keeps getting taken away. And every time a turret falls, like especially that mid turret, It's so much easier from Nova to steal away 0711's farm.
Now FPX, they have given up control of the dragon.
There we go.
They're trying to go for turret trades. Fado already taking out, or Yezi taking out the top side map. Rift Herald charges, doesn't take out the mid turret, but it gets more turret plates back over to FPX. They're trying to stem the bleeding that Nova is causing.
WCK Rift Herald use, as we called it, when you take the first turret plates but don't take the turret.
Huge.
And in League of Legends PC, that's like really suboptimal because every plate of the turret is harder to take consecutively. So the last turret plate is like a real pain to kill. Here in Wild Rift, all the plates are equally resistant, so it doesn't matter. But it is always really funny. Here for the gold, not the turret.
I just love that you have been keeping track of Rift Herald names. WCK, WNS.
Yeah, the WNS Rift Herald is when you summon the Rift Herald and it doesn't charge.
Man, they're already home, TJ.
it's like 5 a.m. They're not watching. Don't worry.
Almost 12 minutes into the game. It is 4-0 here for Nova Esports, a 3,000 gold lead that FPX have been able to somewhat salvage from completely overflowing.
FPX did a good job on the map, but it's going to be very difficult. They're playing on hard mode from here on. Here come Nova.
And Fado is out
That clone is gone, though.
Dude, it got completely destroyed. Absolutely smacked down.
So FPX in the late game teamfight do have a solid teamfight. A lot of it is going to be on the way they engage. You're looking at for big explosive casts and big empowered shock blasts.
Shock blasts are strong enough that they can just walk up and bully the turret down.
They were just like, oh, there's a window here. Nova are too far away. We can tank these turret shots.
Yeah, 300 HP is not that hard to take down when you're that hard in the game.
Look at how nasty that is. It's dark Morgana Dark Binding onto the pool, which is the common combo, and that of course gets scarier as we get later in the game. But also you can drop the cask from Gragas on top of it.
Я так и знал, что пауза будет.
So there's just an incredible amount of like chained poke damage that can follow a dark binding at any point from FPX.
Morgana has been
Это невозможно без пауз. Они не могут. Вон опять выходит представитель команды синей. Просто невозможно. Это какая пауза? 5-я за 2 игры? Просто жесть.
Even when it does take them out because they're like on a third HP, it doesn't feel as satisfying as like an explosive cast.
Ребят, накидайте лайков, спасибо большое.
But when you look at a team fight and you're like, that's kind of weird. Everyone's HP bar is just going down. It's either Singed or Morgana.
Yeah. Just slowly.
Ой, блин, это нереально просто.
Especially if you're not paying attention to your own health bar as you're like dashing in.
Dude, I'm a support player. This happens to me. I'm like, this team fight's going great. Hang on. Why am I half HP? Oh, this Morgana is just kiting me and leaving pools below me as I walk forward.
I think the term that you've been using throughout the tournament, which I'm a big fan of, is cooking.
Yeah. Just turning on the heat a little bit.
The gas has been ignited, and the pool is just boiling you alive.
It's because there's all this good food, like here in Singapore, there's a whole bunch of like food courts where you can see the food being cooked in front of you. And so I'm thinking of like the woks and the noodles sizzling as they get tossed around, and that's me. I'm getting tossed around. I'm sizzling.
The oil colliding with the juices of the meats and the vegetables too.
I really like when you can walk up and be like, I want that, that, and that in the wok, and they'll just do it.
Dude, they're so good at it as well.
Food here, incredible. Oh, update on the total kills mark. Long
4 kills away.
At 75, 4 kills away from becoming the leader at this tournament.
Bum, 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 bum.
Chaz's record hangs in the balance. Wouldn't it be really funny if... I'd have to check who's next on the list, but I think if Long and Nova get eliminated and Long doesn't hit 79 by the end of this, and then who's played the least number of games? I guess FPX.
FPX, yeah.
And they have kill distribution, so probably nobody's near on FPX. So if FPX clean up the series from here, there is the possibility that Chaz leaves this tournament as the kill leader despite getting eliminated in the quarterfinals.
May have been eliminated in quarterfinals.
It's almost like I can still feel him. It's almost like he's still here.
But I got the most kills in the game.
The ghost of Chaz haunting our leaderboards.
Chazix slowly just watching you from a window.
Weirdly enough, RRQ, they're maximalist. They had both the most kills and the most deaths because Exocid topped the most deaths chart.
You know what? It was for a good cause. They were strategic deaths.
Yeah, kind of. Exocid kind of ran it down sometimes. That one of those Yubi games was real bad. But also, yes, he went really hard. But also, the biggest reason why RRQ topped both those charts is because they played so many games.
And they were just going wild in those games as well.
That is why they kept having to play games. If we could, just to production, could we get a most deaths leaderboard on screen in any way? I want to have this conversation.
They probably have the stats, but I don't know if they have the graphic prepared. So.
Well, they probably have the stats. I don't know if they have the will, because our production's full of really nice people.
They're like, we don't want to set up conversations to fight people. See, the chaotic evil spirit in TJ.
I've been told that they do have the stats, but not the will.
Yeah, the chaotic spirit in TJ wants to see fire on the screen.
Far exceeds the will for chaos in our production. The other thing that I've been keeping track of kind of quietly, it was just like a totally useless stat, but we have all these fancy spreadsheets I'm looking, is total damage dealt in the tournament.
Yeah.
And it's like completely useless. It means nothing. But early on in the tournament, one of the support players, I'm blanking on who, played a really good Yuumi game, and Yuumi just farms damage numbers.
What, the Jess?
I don't think it was What the Jest, which is what you would expect, but I specifically remember it not being What the Jest, which was surprising. Someone will correct me on Twitter. But played like a really good Yuumi game, and because Yuumi just farms damage, like constantly you're auto-attacking, constantly you're poking, by the end of the game he had the most damage in the tournament just because of that game. Like a truly ludicrous stat. Reminder, I suppose, where when you get to the end of the game and you're like looking at the bar graph and you're like, yeah, I did the most damage. Maybe all of that damage was you on Yuumi auto-attacking an Alistair. And it didn't really matter. But the number is big.
See, that's the copium angle anytime that you lose a solo queue game, and it's like, okay.
You've literally said these words in front of me.
Yeah, because it happens a lot. Where I leave a game like, okay, I may have had the most deaths in the game, but I did the most damage.
So did the most damage?
Yeah, and so therefore, I wasn't the reason why we lost.
Now, did I finish any of those kills? No.
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk, but did the most damage.
Yeah.
What's fun is we have the inverse of those stats, which like is demonstrated actually really well by FPX. Where Fado, if you look at the numbers, like has the most kills on the team. Looks like he's the real carry, but he does almost none of the damage. It's like pretty low. Because the thing Fado's doing, which is a required service, is, oh man, our quirky mid has like poked somebody really low. I'm gonna get in there on Fiora Camille and finish that kill.
Yeah.
Which is a required service. It's like, especially if you have Ziggs, Corky, Varus, any of those characters that sit in the back lines and do poke, it's really easy to just kind of walk away from those characters when you get low.
Yeah.
It's really easy to be like, I'm done here. I'm gonna leave. My HP bar is low. So you do need someone to finish those kills. But who really deserved credit for that kill? I would argue not the guy who just walked in and auto-attacked once.
Sometimes when you look at those stats, you don't think about holistically what they did to get them, and you just kind of blank on, boom,
so,
those kills.
Fun fact, I always think about them holistically, except when they're my stats, in which case I have this amazing ability to turn off the analyst brain and just I have the most damage, so even though my Varus
You know what we
looked
call that?
weak,
We call that selective reasoning.
That's a good word for it. Here's a fun track, which I've been trying to peek at the rune pages of pro players this tournament, and I haven't seen it. But I want to theory craft because we have extra time.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Varus and the backlines. When you're playing one of those characters that does really good sustained damage, this Oriana that we had last game, also a really good exemplar of this, where you're like, okay, well, I am hurting everyone in this team fight. Am I finishing any of those kills? No. There are two runes that come into that conversation. One of them is Triumph.
Execute damage.
Which gives you bonus damage when people's HP gets low. And I do see this, where if you're playing something like Ashe specifically, Varus specifically, and you're like, I want to get the kills so that they have the gold to be a carry. Then you run Triumph so that the lower the person's HP bar gets, the more damage you do. And therefore, if you're doing like Ash Burst damage to somebody and their HP bar gets low, even if 3 other people are trying to steal that kill, which you know they are, you do still get the gold. But flip side, what if you're like me and you're really cool and it's not really a big deal if somebody else gets the kill because you're playing Varus, but it's like for the team, man. Here's the rune you can run, and it's like totally illegal. You can just run Pack Hunter. They say it's for supports, but anyone can run it, man.
I actually remember this conversation back when WNS Championship was happening, so at the beginning of May, late April, and you were telling me, like, if I'm playing a tank jungler like Nudu, I should just run Pack Hunter.
Yeah, man. They don't like to admit it, but the gold in the park is just free.
Yeah.
You could just walk in and take it. Because the way Pack Hunter works is you get 50 bonus gold for everyone who contributes to a kill or a takedown that you get. And takedown is assist or a kill.
Yeah.
So
you just gotta tap them.
Yeah, and everyone on your team gets that bonus gold as well.
Yeah. So
if you are in the middle of a team fight and you hit everyone, and then everyone else on your team hits everyone, and then you get the kill, you get money. And you get it for being the Varus who's sitting in the back plinking away. Anyway, that's my soapbox. You can tab back into the view screen now. We've got a video game back.
TJ on his money printing rant.
That's what I'm known for.
What treasurers don't want you to know.
Financial crimes. That is a joke for leagues. Nova Esports versus FPX continues on your screens right now, with Nova Esports at a slight lead. Nova Esports 2,000 gold ahead after continuing to look real good in the team fights in this second game. FPX struggling to scale towards their gems.
Dude, Long has the GA third item once again. So many other Lee Sins this tournament have gone for a more defensive item or even something like a Divine Sunder to increase their durability.
Long's going in.
That's
he knows
right.
He needs it. He also rushes Zhonya's as quick as humanly possible.
Yes.
Because having that stasis button just allows so much outplay. It allows so much mechanical expression.
You also have ways to just bait FPX in as well. You can throw yourself into the heart of the enemy team and they'll think, okay, everyone dive the Lee Sin, and then boom, they've committed tools and spells and then stasis.
It's the same thing we were talking about. Yeezer's also really good at this. He will full commit to a front line in the stasis, and then you have to respect him because he's going to come out of that stasis angry.
You won't like him when he's angry.
No, you won't like him when he's done sleeping. Don't wake him up from his nap. And so he's like in the front line, frozen, nice little statue, and nobody can walk past him.
Don't blink. Oh, well, that's a flash out of remake.
Yeah.
Lei gets it for an explosive cast. That's a nice trade for FPX.
He was really hoping to find knock forward though, and Long and Neon, who are on the receiving end of it, were very aware of what was happening.
Unfortunately, Remake doesn't have the instantaneous mobility. Leisure has to either satchel charge as fast as possible, or in this case, flash.
Now, I'm telling you, if you did the Exosin flash body slam combo, where you flash midway through the body slam, he would have found those hooks, because he would have been halfway across the map before Nova realized it.
Shout-outs to Exosin.
Shout-outs to Exosin.
15 minutes into the game.
Gone, but still in our hearts.
True. FPX finding themselves down 4,000 gold as Nova are slowly trying to find a way back into controlling FPX. Oh, Lei, he's stunned. Did you see Yitze? He intercepted the body slam, and that gets the flash out.
Does burn the flash, and that's very important as we are heading into our third dragon of the game. An Infernal Drake arriving here. Nova in control of the Dragon Pit. Resetting everything right now. It is worth noting the flash is currently down for Long, so he won't have that engage tool either as we get into this major team fight. This is the first team fight that FPX can take on fair terms, so expect them to step forward and take it. 0711 has completed his wits end, so this Jax is online.
Я, кстати, все это время здесь был, ребят. Nice пауза за 2 игры 10. Хороший флеш. И от Галио, кстати. Я смотрю матч с телефона. Просто ничего не говорил, пока паузы были.
Dragon being lined up here, 5,000 HP already gone. You see that 0711 is actually following up on Yami, but everyone is in the backline. Fado trying to use the Cyclone as a deterrent.
Идеальный ульт от Галио, кстати, сейчас был. Тут дракона, наверное, заберет Нова, да. Я не знаю, мне кажется, что Нова выиграет. Сейчас Зикс добьет всех. Там Лисин еще с Га. А он сейчас всех зачизит, всех убьет. Даблкилл Зикс делает. Не хватает демеджа. Здесь Лисин будет играть? Не видит он. Вижена нет. Да нет, я просто от пауз устал. За 2 игры 7 пауз, ребят. По 10 минут. Ну это бред. По 20. Ой, там Зикс, там Лисин, 14 тысяч, ребят. 14 тысяч Лисин. Но здесь демеджа не хватило у FPX. Они как бы неплохо сыграли. Здесь еще ресурсов Ривен много ушло. Ривен прыгает, через флэш дает W. Туда Вуконг суетой прыгает. Грагас дает Е. Здесь Галю дает хороший ультимейт. Грагас оттуда флешается. Ну, здесь неплохо они пытались на развороте забрать. Убили Ривен. Убили Галю. И на этом все. Там Лисин, кстати, мог агрессивнее чуть сыграть. У него все равно Га есть. Он бы всех убил. Да, здесь снова вин. Ну неужели 3-0 будет? Офигеть. Я, честно, вот в этой паре бы 50 на 50 бы. Вот если изначально я 50 на 50 давал в этой паре. Ну вот настолько. Но она лучше играет, Нова. Вот именно эти матчи. Ой, какой пакет от Корки. Прям жесткий. Смотрите, как Корки зашел. Рэмпейдж для Зикса. Там пытается еще прыгнуть Лисин. Он с Га. Нет, ГГ, ребят. Джакс вообще ничего не может сделать. Да, не-не-не. Это ГГ 2-0. Ой-ой-ой! Не хватило одного там ХП. Там Галио застанил под Корки. Жестко. Опять такой же счет. Там был в первой 10-2, 6-10-4. 2 дракона для Новы. Им надо Лисина банить. На Лисине, на Ривен прям очень хорошо играют. Мне прям нравится, как они играют. Ну, вообще все хорошо играют, но вот я бы забанил им все равно Лисина, Ривен. Что-то из этого хотя бы одно. Ну, пока что Джак с Моргана не могут. Я не знаю, наверное, что-то надо другое пикнуть. Неужели только такая заготовка у них? Здесь нормальный файт, кстати, был. Потому что выбили с Лисина Га. Все кнопки, правда, туда отдали. Там Зикс, смотрите, вообще полкает снизу. Очень много дэмэджа. Здесь, ну, здесь просто уже... Смотрите на Джакса. Один удар не хватает. На нем, ой-ой-ой, там еще экзост, там Жоня. По голде преимущество не такое прям большое. Ну, 5000 есть. Ровно. Не, ну полуфинал 3-0 это прям не особо... Я наоборот даже рад, что 3-0 будет с такими паузами, но для полуфинала 3-0 это прям показывает сейчас нам, что Нова на голову выше, вот в данном противостоянии. Прям они намного лучше играют. Возможно, еще пик, но мне их пик больше нравится в 2 играх, я уже сказал об этом. Не нравится мне Моргана плюс Джакс. Просто дамажить нечем. У Джейса нет столько урона. Он такой плотный, есть у него урон, но не столько, сколько нужно. Он примерно дамажит, как Корки. Что у Корки 2 сата. Даже не, Корки больше дамажит сейчас. Если с пакетом файт зайдет, Корки больше надамажит. Ну, Джейс 1.03 идет. Есть у него Га. Последним он берет танец смерти. Тут еще проблема в том, что до Зикса дойти никто не может. У них нету такого чемпиона, который может прыгнуть, вот, например, как Лисин, и быстро кикнуть в сторону врагов. То есть Вуконг, если будет сжать флэш-ульт, флэш-е-ульт в Зикса, ну это бред, вы понимаете, что там Зикс выйдет, у него Жоня, бомбочка, флэш. То есть Зикса, по сути, очень тяжело в файте убить. С такой позиционкой, как он играет, по сравнению с Морганой. Потому что Моргане, чтобы дать хороший прокаст, я имею в виду ультимейт, нужно подойти. Зикс просто полкает. Там, кстати, дэмэджа просто куча. Там дракон сейчас появляться будет. Вот Зик сейчас дал плохой ульт, кстати. Попал только по Грагасу и очень мало хп отнял.
FPX beginning to drift forward, looking for any way to start this fight and more spread out this time, so that they don't get full combos, so they can avoid focusing a single target. Hopefully, Nova are instead, as a result, kiting them into this choke point.
Нет, там дамажили все, просто у Зикса слишком много урона, очевидно там. Когда у тебя 3 секунды КД-кушки на фулл-сетах, посмотрите на урон. Здесь у Лисина много урона с прокаста. Корки дал пакет, очень плохой пакет от Корки, и он прожимает Джонни, у Грага сдает бочку, тоже плохую. Ужасный пакет прям от Корки был максимально. Ну, это зонинг был. Типа, они отзонили, они начинают Элдера бить. Ну, Джакс, Сга, есть шанс Элдера забрать. Зикс дает ульт, плохой. Ну, тут Элдер. Да нет, это КГ. Сколько же урона у Зикса. Ривен прыгает. Не, ребят, это нельзя выиграть. 100% прям. 2-0. Это нельзя выиграть, ребят. Они не могут убить никого. Вообще никого. Они убили Галио, который просто бесполезен. Он дал все кнопки уже, и все. Они все на него нажали. 5-0 Корки, ребят. 5-0-6, Зикс 4-0. У них Корки ни разу не умер с Зиксом. Я бы на их месте Джакса не брал бы. Очень долго скелится, и в файте тяжело. Когда много контроля, много урона, прям тяжело. Тем более против Лисина, он просто кикает. Моргана 0 дэмэджа, кстати. Весь шанс, это весь... Вот какой толк вообще от Морганы в компетитив? Это помимо шилда, это рандом рут. Если рандом рут попадаешь, и то очень сложно убивать. Спасибо за лайки, ребят. 2-0 Нова. Жестко, жестко. Красавцы. Но я бы никогда не подумал, что в этой паре будет... Ну, посмотрим, может сейчас камбэкнут. Смотрим дальше.
Nova were a good match into them, but that FPX were the better team coming in. And not only had Nova beaten them, but FPX didn't seem like they had any...
Да, при чем здесь, что у Морганы топ-2, хоть топ-1? Я не так считаю урон. Я считаю реализацию урона в файте. Если там Моргана за всю игру сделала 40 тысяч урона, это что, хорошо говорит о том, что немного урона, если она уже с студеном за счет W просто постоянно наносит урон. Тот же самый Корки, который вначале не дамажил, в одном файте в конце надамажил больше всех. Больше, чем Моргана в 5 раз. С ассатами просто.
Really good right now, as you can tell. Yeah. What was that? Okay.
My evil laugh. I'm practicing already.
I
for
miss
later.
being the smug one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling being on the other side. Yeah.
It's like you don't know how to not be the smug one. So it's not, you're lost. You look like a lost little boy right now.
I don't like this. It's my turn now.
But yeah, you know, earlier we talked about Long and how he was best jungler and everything. Everybody was watching Long. Nobody was watching Nian.
Nian is just so insane in this series so far. Game 1 and game number 2, it felt like he had a different assignment. It felt like he was also playing his own thing, doing his own thing. And from shadowing...
Ну тут Корки не АДК, Корки здесь мидер. Это не считается, что он АДК. Немножко другое. Нурхат.
Keep an eye. Look at this. Look at Nian's positioning here. He's far away. He's always coming in late. It's so good.
Я просто не вижу шансов пока что для FPX. Вот с таким драфтом, которым они играют. Они не смогут выиграть. Нова слишком хорошо играет. Тем более, когда у тебя есть куча контроля с брузнёй. Там Лисин, Ривен, Галио. И 2 покера. Корки с Зиксом. Это очень сложно играть. Ты не можешь ничего сделать. Ты понимаешь, что ты просто... Ты влетаешь в... Вот даже как здесь сейчас файт был. Толку от Вуконга ульты просто 0. Он подкинул одного, до остальных он тупо не дошел. Он просто не дошел до остальных. Лисин W откинул. Корки тоже W дал. Зикс вообще сзади стоит. И здесь Зикс просто располкал. Ты Вуконга можешь брать только под взрывной урон. Ну, в смысле, ты можешь его всегда брать, но Вуконг подходит под взрывной урон. Например, когда у тебя Ясуо в миду, и ты подкидываешь, у тебя еще Рейкан, ну, чтобы там можно было сразу взорвать с кем-то. Здесь взрывного урона вообще нет никакого. Здесь Вуконг подкидывает, и это выглядит так, что просто Джейс там с Джексом прыгают и пытаются убить в течение 5-6 секунд. Это не то.
Stands there for both games, and the Jax pick does nothing. And I feel like the draft has just been fantastic from Nova. The adaptation, snatching away the winning.
Ждем третий матч. Красавцы, Нова, вопросов нет.
FPX have made it their own and more.
And it's so crazy to me, right? When we look at the draft, you said almost Corki and Ziggs, a lot of range, a lot of poke. But on the other side of FPX, these are a lot of melee champions. Morgana counts as melee because the Soul Shackles requires you to be near everyone else. And it's going to be so difficult for them going up against a high range composition. How can you go near? Before you even get close, you're already half HP. And that is the story for the team fights that we saw constantly in this particular game.
It seems like Nova Esports just appears to be the bane of FPX. We talk about FPX being this unbeatable team, but they have fallen twice. They have fallen to Nova before in the WRL. They've fallen twice so far in this series, and now Nova Esports is at match point, Rico.
Yeah!
FPX against FPX.
FPX, the champions of the WRL right now are at the brink of being eliminated at Icons in their semifinals, and it's Nova. I feel like it's gonna be extra, if it's a 3-0. It's true!
Yeah, I mean, FPX did not drop a single game before the semifinals, and now they're on the brink of getting trio by Nova. It's brutal for them right now. I can't imagine what this is doing to their mental state.
Yeah, and we saw them looking very,
You don't
very
have to imagine, they're right behind me. Let me take a look. Oh, wait,
no,
never
they're
never
not.
mind,
They're
they're gone.
seeing things. They're still in their seeing things.
Imagining it, yeah.
They're seeing things up
They're
one
huddling.
Well, I mean, it's fair because they didn't show up on stage either.
Oh,
It's about the same amount.
wow! Suddenly turning tail, man. Okay.
Yeah, I expected so much more from them, from the drafting to the gameplay to the strategy. It's just not the FPX we saw prior. It's a bit odd. It's heartbreaking.
Definitely not. And I think on the side of Nova Esports, this also wasn't the Nova that we actually saw during the play-ins, because this is a completely different Nova. It's so great to see them evolve, actually, from being this one team that actually has that one-star player, Long, and then the rest of the team follows up. And now, you know what? My eyes are suddenly off Long.
I agree, because Long, you can see even in his item builds, even in his pick. Lee Sin usually, okay, if I take off, I'm going to build damage. No, you saw him building a lot of these defensive items, Guardian Angel, to set up for the entire team, and I think that's great.
Okay, well, I feel like right now, Nova Esports are on the spotlight for a different thing other than them being at match point. Let's actually take a look at, we've seen these teams gather up on stage and take a few selfies. I'm curious to see how Nova Esports has done. We can actually analyze and break this down a little bit and see.
This one's pretty good.
This is
I like
really
this.
nice.
I like this one.
This is like calm, collected. This is the Nova, serious, but we're celebrating still that we won.
Look, I'm just going to be very upfront here and say it. We've seen Nova take some terrible group selfies. But this one's pretty good. This one's good. It got everyone in the picture. You know, no one's face is really cut off.
The
Good job.
framing,
I honestly think the terrible ones.
There was once they got like the shotters guy with the shotters hands to take the picture, and then it was all clunky, and then they didn't adjust. And terrible form, but this is much
So
better.
this is a good start.
So
Great.
what is our
This is a good
grading
start.
system? It's
This is a
10
good start.
highest, 1 lowest.
All of them,
This is so good.
It's nice.
I like
Okay,
this. Yeah.
this is nice, but you have to look at the guy in the
The
upper
shadow
left,
on
the
Yami's
shadow,
face.
the
Yeah.
shadow.
Yeah,
I take away
Yami's
2
face.
points for that one.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
-2.
not that much.
Yeah, the first
was
one
a strong
definitely
start.
better. Yeah.
It was a strong start though.
But you could edit this picture in post, take the shadows away from Yami's face. I'll probably give this a 9.
Yeah. There is actually a lot of character in this.
Yeah.
True. You
I
do
agree.
that and-
Oh, this one's
what
so
about
cute. This is like a
It
candid
looks like
shot.
they were not
A little
ready.
awkward, yeah.
It looks like they were not
It's
ready.
like, okay, guys, 1, 2, and then click.
Just take it. Just take it.
This is cute.
Look at Long.
Yeah,
He's like totally
Long's
like he's
wait.
not prepared at all.
not fully in frame.
He was probably mid-sentence when this was taken.
Yeah.
This is Long's reaction if you told him he's gonna trio FPX in semi.
Yeah, like,
Huh? Really?
what?
Trio? Okay.
Wow.
Like,
I thought I was gonna get to pay 5 unique champions.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's out of the window. We played Lee Sin twice. We'll see.
Well,
the next game.
that was gone. But it seems like your prediction's going well anyway. So far.
Yes.
But who knows? You know, Phoenixes they die
Rise from
first
the
and then they
ashes.
rise
Yeah.
from the
That
ashes.
whole cliche.
That is right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I gotta say though, I'm not
Got
feeling
much
I'm not,
hope for that,
not
yeah.
feeling too confident about that.
Look, I mean, I'm gonna give you one scenario where this can happen. Stop picking red side. Give yourselves a break. Go pick blue side. Cocky first pick, or force them to ban the cocky. They'll have to open something else and change your draft plan completely, because this is terrible from FPX. I just have to say it. Like, I have to put it out there. Change your draft plan. This is not it.
Yeah. Well, actually, speaking of FPX, I believe we have FPX's selfies coming right up. Or we have one more selfie, I think. We have one more selfie. Not exactly FPX. I think we have another one from Nova. And it's not Nova.
No, it's for the casters.
It's not Nova. What is
Cutie.
Caption this.
Wait. Serious question though. Who's taking the picture?
Yeah, that's so true.
I think it's TJ.
I think it's Rafa.
But no, but his expression feels like, don't fix my microphone.
Pretty good.
Thank you. But Rafa's so happy, like, I'll gladly fix that for you, bestie.
Yeah, now we're captioning it. Such a meme.
That's so cute.
We could probably get the Wild Rift community on this and caption that and find out what's going on in that amazing selfie. I thought we were going to see an FPX selfie. Apparently it was not. It was
bestie. It's a duo, bestie.
Yeah. Let's send it over to them, actually, since we have such a fresh memory of their faces. Rafa and TJ, take it away.
Thank you very much, Mika. And we are back with game number 3. Let's get that off the screen. It was actually Mark who took that. He leaned in, and in an instant of brilliance, this is genuine photographic brilliance, he was like, I'm not going to get TJ to take a normal selfie, so I'm instead going to take control of the chaos. And I didn't realize he was taking a selfie until he had grabbed my microphone, taken the selfie, and said, all right, that's going on Twitter.
You know, funny thing, I didn't put it on Twitter. I just sent it to production.
You just sent it to Zeus?
Yeah.
I think I like it even less now.
I'll put it on Twitter later.
There was a specific private selfie for Zeus? Producer Zeus?
Production requested it, man. What can I say? FPX, they have listened to Omo's request. They have not only taken blue side, but they've also banned away the Lee Sin, a request that you personally made off camera.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out why anyone would listen to Omo, but yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good advice.
You know, after Omo caster curse Rollster Y, I can understand.
Yeah! We're spectacles too, that nerd. FPX.
Omo, I want you to come back with some fighting words the next time it's on the analyst day.
FPX. Do make the adjustment that I was calling for, and it's not because Long's Lee Sin has been especially effective during the early game. They've actually done a really good job of shutting that down. But the thing that Long's Lee Sin is really effective doing is every single team fight, he gets in, does some damage, draws a whole lot of focus, changes the shape of the team fight, and then disengages. And we saw FPX trying to like deal with it.
О, FPX меня услышали, забанили Лисина. Я, кстати, об этом и говорил. Лисин либо Ривен, но прям очень сильно мешает. Лисин очень хорошо играет у Новы. Спасибо за лайки, ребят.
That's the beauty of giving Long a champion that he could be super mobile and flashy on, because he causes so much distraction.
Nova don't have the chance to first pick this Corki away from Yezi, and so they ban it.
FPX say, damn, no Corki. Time to go back to the Karma, baby.
L plus no
Z-ban.
plus pick Karma first plus ratio.
W for us.
Yeah. Well, Karma has been in a bit of a weird place, because I think she's actually really effective as a support.
Короче, я понял, FPX не хотят выигрывать. Я понял. Я не понимаю. Ладно. Смотрите, в чем суть. Даже если у вас натренена очень сильно карма, и даже это слишком сильный герой, если и очень полезный, не нужно брать его третью игру подряд, когда вы идете 0-2. Не потому, что вы плохо играете на нем, например, или она реализует себя плохо, а потому что команда вражеская хорошо играет против этого драфта. Если Нова не забанила карму, значит, это для них не проблема. Они опять на ферстпик взяли карму. Я не понимаю просто, зачем. Просто, честно, я не понимаю. Ну, смысл какой? Дело-то не в этом, то, что они хорошо на ней играют. Просто Нова очень хорошо играет против кармы и вообще... Если бы была проблема карма для них, они бы забанили ее. Но очевидно, что тут, ну, Ривен забрали они. Забрали пику Новы. Ну, хотя бы что-то. Казикс влез, я не знаю, это сложный пик. Опять у них полк, только теперь еще, ну, Джейс. Не, я не знаю, новый лучший драфт. Джейс, Зикс, 2 полкера, плюс Джейс еще как брузер. Реннингтон, который с ревной довольно хорошо стоит. Это вообще файн пик. Компетитив. Сейчас все будет по стандарту. Опять допикается Галио, если его не забанят. Галио и Зикс на бот-линию пойдут. Нет, Галио они додумались забанить. Ну, возможно, сейчас они эту карту попробуют как-то. Ну, тут Рейкан есть, да, Рейкан, Зикс.
Man, we're on the brink of elimination at our international final, at the first ever world final for Wild Rift, with this pick that's not going our way, this draft that feels like it's falling apart. So you go to the
Синджит. Синджиту не особо заходит, потому что там очень много эскейпов, они очень быстрые, контроля урона. Не знаю, мне Синджиту не особо нравится. Посмотрим. Пока что драфт справа у новой 5000 раз лучше, как по мне. Есть урон, есть контроль, есть чем сплитпушить. Вот это хороший пик. А кто кэри... Что? Без вейтгейма? Серьезно? FPX? Не понял. Типа... Файт комп у них? Они хотят быстро выиграть против Новы? Это ГГ. Просто без шансов. Короче... Я не понимаю... Ой-ой-ой, мне прям очень сложно комментировать, потому что... Здесь не то, что вейт, тут и Верли, и в мидгейме, и в вейте сильнее Нова. Да, они не смогут задавить. Верли у Новы в 100 раз сильнее пик. Олаф, Реннингтон, Джейс, Зикс, Рейкан. Они снесут FPX, даже Верли. Вы о чем, ребят? Я не знаю, это... Здесь Казикс просто ни одну цель не убьет. Боже, я не понимаю, просто их драфт мне сейчас прям очень сложно. Давайте смотреть, посмотрим. Но у них урона нету вообще. В мидгейме они не смогут, там только Казикс, и то. В файте он не наносит урон, только по цели одной. Low 0711 strikes. If he can get a gold lead, we could absolutely get one of those MVP performances. Это очень сложная игра будет для FPX, самая сложная из 3. У них вообще ничего нету. У них, вы вообще понимаете, у них инициация от Сета либо Синджита. Там просто Реннингтон, Олаф жмут кнопку. Да там какой Реннингтон? Там просто Эйр жмет Олаф и все. Ну, Синджит мид против Джейса. Это фри для Джейса. Смотрим на ботлинию. На ботлинии Рейкан Зикс спокойно стоят против Сета с кармой. И на топе здесь 50 на 50 уже. Ревна вначале посильнее там. На 5-м уровне уже Реннингтон может спокойно пытаться драться. Ну, это, конечно, полный троллинг брать такой пик, когда открыт Олаф. Тяжело будет очень.
And all of Long's early pressure is going to match where either Yabi or Yeeza are on the map.
0711 checking into the mid lane, making sure that Yezi can contest the minion wave push.
And yet another reason why this game is going to revolve around the top side. In what world is ganking a singed fun?
Only if you can get the flash flip, TJ.
Yeah. So, Yezi going to kind of neutralize any presence from Long in the middle of the map. You see that happening as I speak on it. And so, FPX have the right idea instead. 0711 kiting up here.
Whereas Long and Neon pivoting their power over towards the dragon side of the map. Xiaoma and Lei have to forfeit pressure. Two-man knockup from Yami does connect. It's just chip damage.
Интересно. А тут сейчас умрет карма просто. Ну прям жестко давит Нова. Прям еще и с подкрепами.
And that means that they don't get the fight. FPX managed to survive the early pressure. Iza can't finish this kill on Defado, though it is close.
He thought about flashing forward. He had Dominus available. Might have been able to trade Summoner for Summoner, but he has the advantage over Fado. He has to recall.
Yeah, Fado vulnerable at this point of the game. Renekton is pretty much the apex predator at this stage of a lane. Can beat pretty much anyone in the 1v1. So it makes sense that he is winning these trades, and I would in fact even praise FPX's Fado for how stable they are keeping that lane. As long as he doesn't die, he is winning. You saw 0711 taking some of his CS earlier, very much indicative of where the game plan is for FPX.
You know, thankfully for both Fado and Itse, they are familiar to how dominant a Renekton lane can turn out to be.
Зачем Ривен щиток? Ну посмотри на драфт, она будет инициировать файт. Потому что сет с Игнайтом, вся инициация это от Ривен, Синджита. И там по возможности от сета, естественно. Плюс топ-лейнеров постоянно давят. Ну, здесь Ренектон неплохо сыграл. Кстати, Ренектон тоже с барьером. Хотел сказать, что Ренектон мог включить сейчас, если правильно комбу использовал бы с ультимейтом, с игнайтом, мог бы прям очень сильно подраться. Ривен нет смысла игнайт брать, она все равно на линии никого не убьет. Видишь, ее давят. Там же так играют. Пока там Джейса давят. Кстати, Джейс умирает. Нет, Джейс выжил. Хороший флеш-ульт от сета. Есть ферзбат для FPX. Ну, прям, честно скажу, уже на чили играют эти. Нова. Прям далеко так зашли, и видно было.
It's FPX getting the lead, and simultaneously, they did a whole lot of damage trying to force a fight on the opposite side of the map. FPX took that entire battle up top at a player disadvantage, and were able to take swings and occupy the time of remake.
Карма ФБ забрала, есть у нее Люден.
And I don't think FPX can take the team fights yet. They don't quite have the damage. You're still waiting on first item completion for Yezi, which is when he starts to do actual damage. You're still waiting on a whole lot of major abilities to come up from gold, essentially. And so FPX should take whatever they're given. They instead get to force the pace here, though, because they won the top lane.
Ну, главное не расслабляться. Нова-то 0-2 ведет. 0-2. 2-0 ведет Нова. Здесь уже Герольда забрали FPX. Главное не расслабляться. А то бывает такое, 2-0 ведешь, думаешь, возьмем сейчас потроллим немножко, расслабимся. Потом команда... У них-то мотивация огромная сейчас у FPX. Хотя бы карту забрать. Джейс сейчас может умереть, кстати, там сет в кустах. Джейс родной. Ну, он с бортовым, тяжело будет его убить. У него еще экзост. Сейчас бы сюда Кухан дать. Куст. Что-то знает Джейс. Ривен пришла с бэком, у нее есть ботинки, она чуть посильнее будет. Табики. Ну, почему-то... Минус ульта Ривен, здесь никто не стал разворачиваться. Из-за того, что увидел сета. Ренектон без ульты, Ривен без ульты. Там еще Ренектон барьер отдал. У Ривны есть. Опа. Вард засветил сета. Можно. Не, фарм равный, ребят. Абсолютно равный. Здесь умирает Синджит. Какой-то странный бэк, ему сейчас собьют. Не. Он бы успел, зря отменил он. Тебе... Синджит странно бэкается как-то.
Just using a great example of tempo, keeping Yezi longer on the map than he would have liked.
Unclear what that's going to convert into. It does give Nova the tempo advantage, which means they get to set the pace of play across the map.
Посмотрим, посмотрим. Пока что FPX хорошо играют. Ошибок мало, никуда не спешат. Мотивация выиграть огромная. Ривен тут сильнее, потому что там Жоня у Рениктона, здесь антихил плюс таб. Ну, короче, чуть побольше урона у Ривен. И здесь, наверное, будет ФБ Тавер, да, открываться? Нет, Олаф пришел. Зикс дает хороший ульт. Ну, тут очень много дэмэджа Олаф дает. А, здесь тоже умирает Ривен. Нет, выходит. А, у Ривен флэш еще есть. Я не увидел, не. Тогда нормально. Нормально задефали ФБ Тавер плюс еще килл для Зикса. А, ну Джейс ФБ Тавер забирает. Он успеет спушить. У него бортовом. Да. ФБ Тавер для Новы. Там Карма вообще не сможет никак задефать, он ее убьет, если она подойдет. Ну, теперь по голде преимущество у Новы. В 2000. Только вот минуту назад все было ровно по фарму. Уже 2000. ФБ Тавер плюс скилл. Еще пару киллов, пару вышек, и вот так становится 5, 6, 7 тысяч по фарму. Ревай есть у Синджита, есть шиповка. На броню и антихил. 2 порта ремня. У Кармы Редемпшн или антихил. Ну, антихил у всех есть, кроме сета. Здесь они должны, в принципе, Олафа и Рениктона быстро съедать в файтах. Там Джейс мог сейчас Т2 пойти, если бы они скипнули объект, но они хотят драться за него. Какая же проблема Зикс с своим полк потенциалом? Там Джейс еще мид пушит, ребят, вам надо мид как-то сдефать. Проблема, что сейчас ульт включит и заберет Герольда. Джейс заходит сзади. Герольд. Рениктон с ультой, ребят, Рениктон с ультой. А что сейчас Казик сделал? Зачем он туда... Ребят, это ГГ сейчас для FPX. Им просто повезло. Короче, троих бы сейчас забрали просто изи, Нова. Повезло, что они успели выйти. Все флеша отдали, чтобы оттуда выйти. Все трое. Герольд не успел дойти. Задефали Герольда, но потеряли тавер на топе. Хороший файт был, в принципе, для Новы, но не смогли никого добить. Там Олаф нажал R, Казикса чуть не взорвали сразу. Под ультой, конечно, Олаф слишком легко себя чувствует. Ну, это еще и Дрейк сейчас будет, там Ривен. Олаф, найс, убили Олафа, дракона забрали. Ну, сейчас неплохо разыграли. FPX тут умирает. Ну, тут умирает Джейс, да. Неплохо, неплохо. Волофа full damage дали. Хороший протобел Е ульт от сета. Ой-ой-ой, хорошо. Добьют? Минус 5? Найс. Камбэк. Я же говорю, нельзя расслабляться, ребят. Я отвечаю, они очень сильно расслабились, из-за того, что 2-0 ведут. Олаф с ультой бегает, но там очень много дэмэджа по Олафу. Ривен заходит сзади, а Зикс с Риканом просто вышли с файта. Зикс дал ульт на развороте, плюс кушку. Ну тут, честно скажу, я бы не сказал, что очень хорошо FPX сыграли. Здесь видно, что довольно расслабленные Нова, если честно, откровенным быть. Поэтому смотрим дальше. Но пока что этот файт, ну, 5 они убили, плюс объекты, плюс тавры в миду. Посмотреть бы сейчас на фарм. Там все изменилось, да? Нет, все ровно. Последний до файта на драконе было преимущество в 2000 для Новой. Сейчас все ровно.
To find that pillar that they can rebuild a potential reverse sweep on.
An injection of life into this team.
Yes.
And it's, like you said, a start. FPX still in a very close game against a team that has kept them at arm's reach all series. Here we go.
Дефает тавер, Нова. Зикса дал ульт.
Perfect use of the mega inferno bomb to clear and protect that turret. It'll still be under threat on the top side, but that's a 3.
Но они будут забирать на боте тавер. Надо дефать еще на боте тавер. Если... Нет, не успеют, должны успеть. А, нет, там уже вейв подошел. Да, здесь они успеют тавер забрать. Угу. Успевают забрать тавер. Нет, серьезно? Одно хп у тавера? Это, блин, Ренниктону пришлось все кнопки нажать вместе с ультой, чтобы задефать. Жестко, жестко. Ну и все, на тавер заберут.
Turret taken, FPX rotate their entire team across the map, anticipating some resistance from Nova. And Nova quite rightly...
И сейчас по голде FPX вышли вперед. А с это... Неплохо сет сыграл, я понял, что он хотел сделать, чуть не получилось. Отдал он флэш ульт. Ну, все самонерки игнайт.
Played that off perfectly, found a 3-man stun and stalled for long enough that he didn't go down. So, yet again, 2 incredible players facing off in the top side of the map, and nobody wins except us.
Fado? I don't...
Can't go in here. He's just trying to maintain vision on Nova. He's trying to make sure that they can set up for the skirmish around the Baron, which is now up. So if either team gets a prime gaming ace, they will...
6-2 счет пока что. Пока такого преимущества ни одной команды нет. Тут Рекан... Ой, Рекан хорошо влетает. И Зикс дает хороший ульт. Там прожал Жоню вроде бы Ривен. Тавр будет давить. Ой, хороший ульт от Кармы сейчас был. Хороший ульт, ну по таврам. Ой, какого взорвался. Там W сет от W... Ой, короче, красиво было. W на развороте, Казикс Q дал. А там у F1 был, там еще фул урон прошел от Казикса. Форсят на Шора. Ну, это плохая идея, как по мне, ребят. Очень плохая идея. Форсить 5-4 на Шора. Тем более, когда против вас Зикс. Ну, здесь, кстати, можно почизить, да. Можно поиграть. Хорошо играет Сет. Посмотрите, все ульты в свою команду дает. Ой-ой-ой, кушка не достала по Синджиту. Тем временем мид падает. Джейс спушил мид. Из-за на Шора много времени потеряли, видите? Отдали мид. А в принципе ничего не смогли забрать.
The Infernal Dragon was won by FPX. Nova this time around now know that FPX are willing to throw haymakers right back into this game. They have to be cautious in the next entrance.
Shama does not have, or sorry, Fado does not have TP, and he was roaming up to the top side to try and correct that wave. He ends up not doing it. So Nova do have a pushing wave in the top side of the map. They want to stall out here as a result. Use the poke of Remake, use the poke of Neon.
Dragon has been started up, 6,000 HP already. Nova trying to poke from afar.
Yeah, they successfully stalled this out, stop it.
Ой, хорошо Рекан играет. В трибуш по сету. Ну, по сету играть, конечно, такое. Ой-ой-ой, там. Ох, это ПГГ, ребят. отзонили Ремингтона, а тут FPX должны забирать дракона. О, встилить? Серьезно? Все играют по разным целям. Здесь Ремингтон идет помочь Зиксу, чтобы сыграть по Ривен. Ну, дракон второй для новый, но все равно плюсовой файт, -2 для FPX, 9-2 счет. Что-то расслабились, Нова. Не успеют на Шора. Плохая идея. Блин, плохая идея, я прям вижу. Выходить надо с Нашора, выходить. Ребята, выходить с Нашора надо. Ой-ой-ой, какой файт. По Нашору, фулл дэмэдж заберут. Как же Зикс дает вовремя ульту. Нашор. Зикс стилит Нашора. Боже. Где... Как просто? Но они убили всех. Ну Зикс состилил Нашора. Жестко. 3 в 5 они дрались здесь. Зикс дает... Посмотрите, какой ультимейт Зикс дает. Очень сильно распол. Там на 1 хп двое вышли. И кушка летит прям в Нашора. Казикс в жоне был. Или где? Нет, Казикс вообще выпрыгнул оттуда. Да. Там таракана бы убили, да, если бы он смайт не прожал. Ну, задержали игру. Если бы Нашора... Если бы не Зикс, они бы проиграли сейчас игру, повезло. С Нашором просто спушили бы. Просто, ну, вообще спокойно. Ну, все равно здесь карту должны забирать. 6000 преимущества. В голде. 5. $12-2 счет. Забанили Лисина, забрали Ривен, сразу выиграли. Как я вам и сказал, как только они уберут со своего пика FPX Моргану Джакса, сразу все получится. Вот они первые 2 игры взяли Моргану Джакса, в 0 проиграли. Сейчас не взяли Моргану Джакса, все у них нормально идет. Сейчас посмотрим, они могут выровнять. They reckon they can win the team fights through the power of late game Olaf, should he be able to engage through the power of Remake, having now completed Rabadons. Danger to it over on FPX's side. Yezi sure is coming online. He's going to be very difficult to kill in these team fights. And he is going to do a ton of... Ну, пока Элдера не заберет одна из команд, шансы есть. То есть, если Элдер достанется новый, там шансы есть выиграть. У них просто сейчас реально урона не хватает. Ой, как плохо все у Новы, я не знаю, это выиграть очень сложно. Прям очень все плохо. 15 секунд до Нашора. Дракон через минуту появится. Ну тут прям слишком стронг все у FPX в этой игре. Здесь даже карма уже вносит хороший дэмэдж. Очень много дэмэджа там должно быть у кармы, если... Почти никто не умирает со стороны FPX. 0 смертей там у многих. Очень хорошо эту катку они играют. Я очень рад, что они убрали Моргану и Джакса. Прям, ну, додумались. На все бабки играет Нова! Просто на все бабки! Когда нечего терять, реально огромный врыв был. Столько дэмэджа, ну выживает команда. Ой-ой-ой, сколько там урона от кармы. Там Ривен еще с ультой влетела. И Казикс, это ГГ. 2-1. Пентакилл? Нет. Триплкилл он сделал. Без старшего выиграли, нормально. Красавцы.
FPX had to recover from two incredible games that Nova Esports demonstrated in the opening of the series. But when it came to shove, 0711 on the Kazakhs, isolating the crucial target in Remake, forcing the flash, waiting for the reset, resets on the engage, takes out the heart of the damage for Nova.
And I loved your call in that last fight, focusing on Remake as he's focused in the backline by 0711. The Kazakhs is the key to that fight. And simultaneously, the key to that fight is how tanky the front line of FPX became. We talked about that set. He did not go down in this very extended fight. And during that time, you have 0711 picking and prodding and trying to find the kills onto the key members. No, Remake didn't go down, but he had to flash away. He wasn't contributing to that fight, and so all the damage we've talked about wasn't there.
Remake had a very tough decision to make, to step forward as he saw his front line was not being able to finish off those main frontline targets, and that is when 0711 struck. He pounds. That's the Kazakh boss sound. I want to see if the analyst desk can.
I need a Riku.
Riku, can you give me a Kazakh?
Oma has something to say, by the way, that was not.
He goes like.
Yeah, he goes like,
He's more sneaky.
Who's it, Kazakhs?
Yeah,
He kills
come
you.
on, it's like a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
similar, I see
that's
it.
better. That's
Yeah,
better.
yeah,
That's better. Okay.
I'm convinced.
Glad we settled that. All right. Now that that's out of the way, FPX. We mentioned this. Rising like a phoenix. We were a little skeptical a while ago, but now it looks a lot better. But Rita, this is really interesting because like the draft, we actually weren't that confident with the draft.
Yeah, because when we look at the entirety of the draft of game 1 and game number 2, it was like, okay, FPX doing the same thing. Now they pivoted onto something a little bit different, even though 0711 is more on the scaling side. Again, it has more mobility to get in, get out, resets, a lot of poke as well, a lot of damage, and basically a lot of tankiness. The thing is, for the composition of the side of Nova, it's a very, Olaf has to win early to hack and slash. But he didn't get that. There's some point in the game where Long was basically 0-3.
Honestly, Riku, I think this was the point.
Yeah, this was
the point where the Olaf just lost all steam.
Yeah, and I think if an Olaf lost all steam, then what is your early to mid-game transition? Where is your answer to shutting down 0711 early game to make sure that he's not a scary Kazakhs? And it don't work out.
Yeah, the Olaf pick here was a very all-in pick from the side of Nova. It really doubled down on the early game identity that their team comm had. You look at the champions, Ziggs is on wave clear duty, right?
Yeah,
he does that one thing. Every other champion here is early game focused. Renekton, Olaf, you want to dive. Jace pushes, roams to that lane, combo with Rakan. It's exactly what they went for, what the 4-man dive. It was answered so well by the side of FPX. Once that happened, you got to consider that this Olaf pick, it doesn't fit that well here. Riven can kite you, Kazakhs counter picks you, Karma can kite you. You really just only do damage against Singed, who just runs away from you.
Yeah.
And against Set, who's a support, and he stands there, haymakers. So long lost all steam, and once that happened, well, FPX just took the rest of the game.
So you think that this was actually like this was favoring FPX in the draft, Nova, but it feels like this game was a lot closer for both sides. Both of them had windows wherein they could take the game and run away with it.
For sure, but when the game progresses, of course it's going to be more favorable for FPX because they have a lot more scaling. Look at the side of Nova. Renekton, Olaf, Jace, if it doesn't get ahead, doesn't really do too much and contribute. So the top half of the map are very early game reliant. And if you don't get that, I don't think Remake can compensate for the damage matching 0711.
He tried. He stole the Baron. He really tried his best. Yeah.
That's true.
Wasn't enough. I think Remake has had a great performance this series as well, by the way.
That's true. And speaking of great performances, we definitely saw 07. We can call him 0711 now. Because 0711 now, right?
Finally.
Yeah, finally, he really did pop off, especially with that last final push towards the base. And I think that was the FPS coach with very restrained. Yes, we did it.
Yes.
Good.
We survive another day.
Yes.
Basically.
Very, very restrained and just nice little period to the game. But yes, 0711, as we should say. That was the performance that we were waiting for ever since game 1, I feel. We knew that this was going to be a jungle versus jungle matchup with these, with Long and 0711. It's only now that he was able to really feel comfortable in it, and we really saw that definitely made an impact.
Yeah, I think there's a very... When we look at game number 1 and game number 2, right, the way that Nova plays is very push and pull heavy. They push in, then they back away, wait for resources, and then get back in. FPX identified this. Let's have karma, let's have a lot of shields, and bait them in, and therefore we have definitely more sustain on paper, especially the fact that, you know, we saw Yedzi basically build full HP, thicker shields to provide more sustain for the rest of the team if they want to last longer in these push and pull scenarios.
Omo, at what point do you think that Nova lost that game?
I honestly think it was a top dive. Their whole team comp relied upon hitting a timing window where you just spike and you make a play and you kill them. The dive was the first attempt. If it doesn't really pan out, you can back away, you can take the first objective spawn instead as your team fight flip window. But the fact that they overcommitted, Long died, Long lost tempo, I feel like that cost them a lot. And then by the time it came to the team fight flip, 0711, his Kha'Zix, sorry, 0711, his Kha'Zix was online and ready to go, and that just flipped the script here for FPX.
Yeah, well, before the day began, before all of this Nova versus FPX, you know, which way is the series going to go began, we polled all of our talent on their MVP frontrunners. We haven't seen this yet, actually. This is a surprise for everybody. I was taken off guard. Oh, this is interesting. This is interesting.
I'm surprised that Zissou and 0711 are even.
Yeah.
5 votes even.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I just... Never mind.
Why?
Say it.
Is there something you
It's not
want
gonna
to
be
share?
very nice. No, this is... Where's Coyote? Why does Zissou only have 5 votes? Why is no Mel in there? What? These... all right, man.
At least everyone agrees on Long being the number 1.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
I think that's no surprise that 8 votes were in for that.
Yeah.
That's pretty
That
solid.
means that 3 people didn't vote for Zissou.
I can't whistle.
Look at that
The
light.
lights are
Did you at least vote
amazing.
Coyote?
The floor is
that's
amazing.
You put no one from Team
over
Flash?
Wow.
Look at the time. This is a
The
fascinating
time
watch,
is
I guess.
now.
Yeah.
The present.
Vietnam fans, Riku
that's
did
right.
not
The
put anyone
gift
from Team
is
Flash in
live.
the MVP vote.
Yep.
Let me just remind all the Vietnam
Yep.
fans at home, Riku right here.
The score is now 2-1 in favor of Nova Esports, jumping back into this series before we
No one from Team
before
Flash.
we have Omo go on a
have no
terrible rant
comment.
over here. We are neither confirming nor denying, by the way.
Yeah,
we are neither
yeah.
You
confirming nor
too?
denying. We are neither confirming nor denying.
I thought it was just Riku with
That's
both
my
of them.
official statement.
Mika, I love your necklace today.
I know, I love
so
your hair.
nice.
I love your hair.
Thank you so much.
Omo has a piece of tape on his jacket.
It's part of the design. It is now.
Sure. Jumping now into game 4. Nova came very, very close in game 3. They could have taken it. They had that opportunity. I don't think they're going to let this game slip away. I think this is going to be a really, really spicy game, knowing that they are at match point. And FPX, they definitely want the momentum to stay on their side. Riku, what's your prediction for this game?
I feel like we're going to see something we haven't seen before in Nova. Again, when we talk about Long's champion pool, this is the time to catch 0711, FPX off guard. This is the time to bring it in, because I feel like as the series progresses, Nova's going to have a harder time, because in their mind, we were 2-0. We could have finished at the 3rd game. So it's going to keep catching up to them eventually.
We're going to a game 5. Look at the pattern in the past. I 2-0 you, you 2-0 me. That's done now. That's gonna happen. FPX is gonna
That's
win
true.
this, and we're gonna go to game 5.
There's no better
True.
ending to
It's
this
the fairy tale.
this rivalry.
We
You know,
have
from
to.
WRL stage 1 to stage 2, you know, the 2-0 and the
2-0,
reverse 2-0.
It's in the script.
It feels like it does need to go to a game 5. But Rico, going back to what you mentioned about Long, you know, probably bringing out another unique pick. Do you think we're seeing the Echo today? Do you think that's a possibility?
I think they should have picked the last game.
Yes. It could have been the game finisher. And if this is the series finisher, I totally agree with you, Mika. They have to bring out the Echo. They have to bring additional CC to complement that as well, because the parallel convergence will not be enough to hold people down from FPX. And for me, if they want to ban something, ban the Singed. If you're playmaking, if you're going to be mechanics heavy, ban the Singed.
you have to bend the Singed. And I think the fact that now Nova is on blue side, they will have the freedom to bend the Singed away. That's why I'm pretty sure the blue side is, jokes aside, right? We said 2-2, you know, game 5. Jokes aside, I genuinely think Nova closes series out here because I think the blue side draft advantage is going to be too big for them. I feel like you ban away the Z, you ban away the Singed, and you are good to go. You force them to ban the Cocky as well. And I don't know if FPX can spare the bans for that. You have to ban Senna, you have to ban Yumi. Do you have space for the Cocky? What do you give up here? Camille? It's difficult.
Yeah, I feel like long here is no longer, because we saw in the earlier video that FPX was going to make long a priority. They knew that that was a strategy that Nova was running with. Right now, though, they're dealing with a different kind of Nova, wherein Long is not just the one leading the charge here. All of the other members of Nova Esports, they are up there with him. And now it's a lot harder for them to prioritize who are they going to ban out, who are they going to focus their fire on here in the draft.
It's interesting too that they banned out the Jace, meaning Nova is fine to give up the Karma unless they first pick that themselves. Although I highly doubt it.
It's a checkmate angle. You have to ban Cocky or Karma. What do you want? We're gonna get the other one.
That's true. I fully agree with you. There you go.
We get
FPX.
Karma.
Cool. That's very strong, especially that Nova, if they do want to run it back again on the Olaf, Karma is an amazing pair, but I wouldn't recommend Long on the Olaf, especially after the previous game.
Yeah. So you don't think that that's going to be a priority for either team?
No, it's
going into
still
this game.
Karma can fit in a lot of compositions, but I don't think it's going to be an Olaf.
I think you can run the Olaf here on Nova because there's a couple small differences, right? You have to come out on your team this time. That's going to be a big boon to you. And also, I think if they play a little bit more conservatively around the dive timings, if they don't flip it at the dive, maybe the Olaf gets into the mid to late game better. I don't think it's the ideal pick still, but I think you can run it back here. But you have to be very aware that 0711 is just going to play the Kazakhs again.
Yeah, absolutely. That means Nova, on paper, you beat FPX's composition if they're going for the long haul. Early to mid game is your approach. Instead, we're seeing the Lee Sin. FPX wants to take this, of course, survive and get it to a game number 5.
This is looking very, very intense. And the 6. Suddenly, there is a swap going on. Omo, are you feeling more secure?
I'm feeling comfortable. We're going to a game 5. I think this is a very FPX comp.
Yep.
Call back to the videos between the two teams where they were trash-talking each other. Nova just said that we know what 0711 is going to do. He wants to play early game for his teammates while Long wants to farm. Lee Sin is the #1 champion for that. You tempo the early game, you control the pace of the game, and you have Selma.
Ребят, походу FPX прошарили. Это будет, конечно, история, если они с 0-2, 3-2 выиграют. Потому что то, что они сейчас пикают, это прям супер стронг пики. Тем более забрать опять Лисина, еще сейчас из Икса забрали они. Как только они убрали Моргану, Джакса, все поменялось у них. Я говорю, прошарили FPX. Видно, прошарили прям. Все забирают, все, чем играют Нова. Здесь уже в Камила пошла в пике. Интересно будет. Ой-ой-ой, смотрите, они очень сильно прошарили. Смотрите на драфт FPX. Все то, что играло чем Нова, они все забрали. Я говорю, прошарили просто. Это жестко, жестко. Что-то, походу, жесткая серия намечается, ребят. Но у них сейчас драфт сильней, намного. У FPX вот эта тройка уже. Надо было с первой игры так играть. А вот этот Моргана Джакс, это, конечно, ужас был. Прям мне вообще не понравилось. Посмотрим, что последним допикают. Офигеть, они забрали все пики, с которыми Нова выиграла. Это просто жесть. Все FPX себе забрали. А оставили дерьмо. На самом деле. Ну, Камила там против Лисина такое себе. Посмотрим. Я так не понял, почему Вуконг с вторым еще был пикнут. Новый. Ну, будем смотреть. Интересно, какой коэффициент был, когда сейчас 2-0 выигрывала Нова на победу FPX? Сколько? 50? Просто 6. Алистар? Против Камилы Вуконга? Слушайте, ребят, что-то FPX начали думать. Я вам серьезно говорю. Они взяли Алистара для того, чтобы просто фул игру мучить Камилу и Вуконга. Еще и танк-инициатор с контролем. Варус? Ну, Варус нормально. Варус карма. Тоже сильно. Ребят, добейте лайки, да, поставьте лайки, поддержите. Также в телеграм-канал переходите, ссылка в описании. Даже сейчас сюда. Грагас. Тут такое. Не совсем хорошее, да. Ребят, переходите в телеграм, ссылку кинул. Там есть чат, телеграм, там розыгрыши, информация, когда у меня стримы. Это у меня, да, птички. Ой-ой-ой. Сколько брузни у... 4 брузера, можно сказать. 3 брузера и танк. Давайте так, как есть. У FPX. Интересная игра будет. Драфты сильные. Ребят, 2 минуты, сейчас подойду.
But FPX feels like they're also aiming for early game. Honestly, this is early game.
So let's see some action.
Yeah.
Well, we're hearing the teams give out their battle cries as well. This is actually the first time I feel like I've heard them really, shout and yell on stage. So they're definitely ready. Can this go to a game 5? That's the big question. Let's send it back to Rafa and TJ and find out.
Analyst S, I don't know if you can see us, but TJ is looking at his palms.
I think there's something on my palms, my fingertips, my hands. Oh! I think there's something all over them, Mark.
I'm gonna take a look.
Do you see that?
TJ!
What is it?
We've got a series on our hands!
What? On my hands?
On your hands!
There's a series?
Oh, it's on all of our hands, TJ!
That's crazy, dude!
That's what I'm saying! And Fun Plus Phoenix and Nova know it too. This is the first time in the entire tournament where they have felt the stakes never higher than before.
FPX still 1 game away from elimination, but they have drafted a composition which fits them so well. This is team fighting, this is everyone demonstrating their mechanical skill, this is FPX taking Nova face first into the team fights, which Nova have also drafted for. So we're going to have 5v5s and team fights all game for potentially still the final game or the series tying game if we want to go to a game 5.
The full distance could be had if FPX are the ones that come up clutch.
5 games?
Please. Please. I want the best series
Mark is
ever.
gazing up to the rafters, praying to some god of Wild Rift.
Aurelian Soul.
Aurelian Soul, praying to Aurelian Soul.
A-Soul, please.
A-Soul, please, give us 5. Fado now playing on the top side of the map versus Yiza in the 1v1 that has been so decisive across this series, and I do want to mention it, this is the first time we've seen the Camille.
Oh, look at that. Fado getting bold in the face of Yitse, and it's because 0711 answers early.
This is the first time we've seen the Camille in answer to the Ribbon, not taking the tank, but instead saying, we can get aggressive and win the mechanics check for Nova. 0711 for the first time in the series on the Lee Sin, a character which needs to get out in lane early and does demonstrate where exactly that pressure is going to go every single time into this Camille in the top lane.
2 camp clear right into a gank before the Scuttle Crab comes up. He's going to replenish on HP and resources, and now if he can get Yetzi out of lane, make a pilot, 3 people over to the top side of the map, look for a dive against Yitse while his flash is down.
Yeah, Yitse is going to be constantly under pressure, but that is another advantage of the Camille. The Camille with hook shot can reset under pressure. Once you hook shot onto a wall, nobody can target you. So if you time it well, you can avoid massive engage spells. Makes it the ideal champion to survive pressure with.
Yeah, see, already fighting for mid-wave control. He wants to set up.
Is gnarly, dude.
Yeah.
I really love it. I think Yize pressuring in here, Yezi, using the Renekton as a direct draft into the Karma is a really good call, saying, okay, well, I can instantly clear waves, and and I can bully this Karma and make sure we don't get to the more supportive late game.
And one of the things that Karma does so well in is against bruisers that don't have sustain. Guess what Renekton has supplies of, TJ?
Sustain?
Bingo.
Wow, dude. Yes, he's going to be able to stay in these fights as the front line, as the attention-grabbing force during the early game. And he's going to have two teammates in that. Fado, who we've seen the effect of a Riven this series.
Dude! Okay! Yami was looking for the body slam, but the Krug spawned at the last minute.
That was crazy!
Dude, 0711's got to pay the Krugs after this game.
He's got to pay ASOL. He paid to ASOL and got a Krug spawn. I don't know quite what that poke was for, the satchel charge, but it was really funny. Knocked remake off of his arrow trajectory, denied him like 1 CS.
You got to do whatever to get into Nova's heads. You just took a game and prevented the clean sweep. If FPX can get in their heads and go for the reverse sweep, that would be a huge tilter.
So far, oh, what a kick!
0711 already getting the flash out of Neon, and it's Long that answers back to Shenan's Embrace. It's not enough damage. 0711 goes down to Long, and he cannot pursue the dive.
1-for-1 trade in the early phase. Lei stepping forward down bottom onto remake. He finds that kill.
Lei cleans it up, and Yami cannot answer back. Oh, everybody's gonna tries. Ignite forward, dude. Lei is stepping up. He doesn't get Oh, but the Ignite finally takes him down.
The minions and the Ignite, I think, combine to find the kill. And Yami gets a 1-for-1 trade he frankly should not have gotten. Xiaoma, during that time, surviving all the pressure. And so FPX don't get a gold lead, despite what was a really sick mid-play from 0711. Despite everything on paper going right for them.
Dude, but this kick was freaking sick.
Biggest brain kick in the universe. But then, okay, you're in the middle of this, and the Transcendent Embrace drops. And then there's a Wukong just auto-attacking you. And it all kind of goes sideways from there, because you're in a close 1v1 against Long, who's always going to output max damage.
It was the Venn diagram of death right there. Neon, Transcendent Embracing Cyclone.
And, you know, we're talking a lot about FPX's game plan. It is worth mentioning that for the first time this series, Long is positioned on a hard carry. He's off the Lee Sin, which is normally only good during the early game. And he's onto characters that can do real damage.
4 seconds away from objective spawning here. Nova and FPX already in position.
Up at the top side, it is going to be a Rift Herald burned by FPX. Infernal Drake taken by Nova.
0711 wants to continue the snowball going for Fado. He was able to burn a summoner spell off of Yitse, but he survives the pressure, still has the gold lead. This time, they're going to ram it in harder.
Top lane push will come out. Fado and co forcing this turret to fall. I think the choice of objectives does also indicate exactly where they're going to put their focus in this game. It's all about using the Rift Herald to close this game quickly for FPX.
A lot of damage. Long forces. Cyclone cannot stop the Rift Herald from getting the charge in, but they kill it down. Oh, that's the 1v2. Lei coming from behind the turret. Yitse's forced to flash away, but Fado follows up with the wind slash just a couple more armor attacks. Lei being the big Chad and taking all the tower.
On the bottom side of the map, Neon is trying to defend his jungle, and he's brought Yami in to do it.
Good exhaust, but he dodges the body slam by dashing to Neon with the Sonic Wave, Resonating Strike, being able to flash away. 0711, you're freaking insane on the Lee Sin.
He can't find it. And so this will be turret pressure, but it's going to be traded in mid. Xiaoma needs just one package, one satchel charge.
Dude, Long tried to respawn back with low HP, but Xiaoma with the exhaust takes him out of the fight and gets the first brick.
And there it is. FPX, despite losing that trade on the bottom side, do manage to find the first two of the game. FPX are running the map.
Что мы имеем тут? 3-2 в пользу FPX, пока по фарму тоже. Походу FPX объект красный у Новы. Короче, FPX камбэкал, да, я так правильно понимаю? 3000 разница в голде на 7 минуте. Интересно.
That is what their composition is designed to do, and they should have a devastating advantage in the first 15 minutes of this game, or they will lose.
Which is why FPX flipped the switch as early as 1 minute and 20 seconds into the game. We saw the first move from 0711 getting the flash out, and the pressure has surmounted and snowballed ever since Nova has been able to respond on some fronts, but it's still the gold advantage that FPX have netted for themselves.
So, FPX, how do you take the next step? How do you force another turret take the gold advantage that they need in order to make sure that Nova can't just slowly grind their way back into it? Well, the key shutdowns are going to be long and user. You see the rotate here. FPX bringing 0711 up into this lane to try and get those kills. And then the other thing is going to be, you literally cannot let them get an objective. So, as we head into this next Drake, I want to see FPX contest the first spawn of the Rift Herald and then immediately be there for the Dragon. They have to double objective.
Я буду в шоке, если они с 0-2, 3-2 сделают. Ну, к этому идет все, кстати. Я прям вижу, офигеть. И здесь не то, что расслабились снова. Все-таки они очень сильно переосмыслили за первые 2 игры. Очень хорошо начали драфтить. Играть очень стали спокойно. Не спеша. Посмотрим. 2-3 пока счет. Ну, преимущество по годе 3000. Но есть дракон красный для новой. Пока особо ничего не дает. Спасибо за лайки, ребят. Очень жестко было сейчас. Лисин прям очень хорошо сыграл. Как же Варуса сейчас разорвали. Варусу Женя нужна срочно. Жесть. Gives them reward. And the more they do that, the slower Nova will have to rotate on the map because they can't pass through their own jungle if FPX are invading it. So I want to see more of that from FPX, more aggression. The fact that they're playing so slow and towards the team fights right now is worrying me because it means we'll have a relatively even team fight here for this Rift Herald. Ну, Герольда здесь должна забирать, да. Нова забирает Герольда, второго. Ну, точнее, я не видел, первого забрали они. Потеряли, правда, вышку на боте. Здесь ТП дает Ривен. ТП сзади дает Ривен. Вуконг дает ульт, Ривен сзади заходит. Камила ультит. Ну, здесь FPX прям... Серьезно? Ривен так умерла с фышом, оставили ее просто. Плюс Тавр. Что, как-то плохо сыграли. Там еще Алистар вроде бы... Да, ульт прожал. Надо повтор посмотреть. Ой, как много Рениктон нанес по иллюзии Вуконга, правда. Ой, хорошо. Хорошо сейчас Варус бэк сбил. Не дают бэкнуться Ренингтону. Ренингтону нужен ресет. Он бэкается, он придет поздно. А, тут еще ресетает нового вся. Варусу пока что тяжело очень, но его задача просто... Тут Варус, смотрите, что вторым сетом собирает. Фулл айтем антихил, потому что, ну, не хватает урона. И он уже не разогнался, поэтому ему нет смысла брать 11-я минута игры. Хотя бы Варусу просто ульт. Есть у него Женя, хотя бы просто ульт дать. Нужен хороший ульт от Варуса. Смотрим сейчас, как они будут тут файтиться. Не знаю, все плохо как-то у Варуса. Прям пользы от него нету никакой вообще. Ну это пока что. Посмотрим, что дальше будет. 4-3 счет по фарму, 3000 преимущества у FPX. 2-1 в пользу Новой, 2-0 они вели. И пока что потихоньку камбэчит команда FPX. Ждут Нова лейтгейма Камилы, потому что уже 2 сета есть. Алистар дает протокомбо, мимо не достает. Ребят, добейте лайков до 250 по-братски. Пока что все... Ой, хороший ингейдж тут по Камиле. Ну, пол хп сняли. Еще и кушка Зикса нет, не достает. Можно начинать потихоньку дракона. Это сейчас что было? Ну, минус игнайт, рестарт, комбо, но там Грагас как-то подставился. У Камилы нет хп, нет. Тут надо давать этого дракона. Дракона бьют прям там, где он отхиливается. Прям на варде. На вижене. Вуконг ждет. Зикс дал хороший Е в проход. Грагас будет... Ой, Вуконг дает Е. Вуконг. Хорошая иллюзия. Грагас дает неплохой ульт. Камила заходит в бэклайн. Хороший ульт от Камилы. Лисинга без кика. Ну, FPX тут разбирает всех. Да, FPX, походу, выиграют. Если 2-2 и потом 3-2, это прям... Я представляю, как обидно. Но это сенсация будет прям на турнире. Камбэчат, ребята, камбэчат. Это камбэки идут. Я уверен, что тут 2-2 будет. Ну, там Вуконг, потому что рано влетел. Жестко. Жестко. Я бы в таком тильте был бы, если бы 0-2 вел. 2-0 вел бы и 3-2 проиграл бы. Я не знаю, просто жесть. Ну, потно очень прям.
I have been stressing how they need to act on that gold advantage. This is not a like Jack scaling game, but it is a Camille scaling game. And I think particularly with Nova Esports having that Camille and Karma combo for the late game, that's really scary. That's very dangerous.
As we wait to get back into this very...
Welcome back to Pause City.
Very tense game.
Oh no!
Oh,
it's a replay. Okay.
Take it away, TJ.
I was like, what? We're right back into a dragon fight? How's that possible?
Ребят, спасибо за лайки.
And you were talking about how Remake was isolated. Take a look at the bottom half of this fight. It is all Riven. It is all Fardo. Just occupying Remake. Just occupying 3 players.
Нормально, нормально сыграли. Еще и дракона забрали. Вуконг рано очень прыгнул.
That's my favorite part of the replay.
And even the FPX coach becoming even more elated.
Нет, там телефоны выдают на турнире. Спонсоры, организаторы. Спасибо за лайки всем, ребят, кто проставил.
And Riven is like really good as a frontline character, maybe the best frontline character in the game, if you are mechanically perfect.
Yes.
And that is what makes the character so hard to play, because if you miss stuns...
Да, Ранник всегда гуд был. Типа один из лучших брузеров в игре.
Yeah, because your movement ability is also your main damage ability as well.
Просто берешь на рингтоне, даешь EW флэш в первого сквиша, чтобы тебя зафоловила команда. И все. Но здесь Рингтон так собрался, что пока он бесполезный. Честно скажу. Он то ли сплитпушить хотел, то ли файтиться. Я так и не понял, но и то у него пока не особо получается. Но в файте он дает свой урон. И впитывает там.
And FPX, as you talked about going into that break, do have a gold lead for kind of the first time this series. Nova Esports on the opposite side. Can play defense.
Я не знаю, как... Но эта игра за ФП... Что там? 5000 разница... Да нет, это ГГ, ребят. 2-2 счет. Я в шоке просто. Просто 0 дэмэджа. Варус 0 просто. Просто Варус 0. 0 дэмэджа будет всю игру. Карма то же самое. Я не знаю, Камила... Ей не хватает. Сейчас она соберет ботрак третьим сетом. Не знаю, но одна Камила, которая выталкивает Алистар, там, комбит Лисин. Такое все. Короче, все плохо у Новой сейчас. И попахивает 2-2. С 0-2. Держу в курсе, ребят. Четыре Жоня... Да не, ну как тут играть там? 4 Жоня у FPX. Даже если вот файт какой-то максимально грамотный, столько Жонь, столько времени выигрывают они. Алистар, которого нужно как-то пытаться убивать.
So,
Потому что он просто прыгает 1 в 4. Алистар, вот последний файт.
so remake needs to be protected, and he needs to be more proactive and landing arrows. So, ooh, we got a little bit of a spin. Everyone's talking about that spin like it's a cosmetic decision.
Не, игра бомбовая, полуфинал достойный, однозначно. Но я только одного, вот, я знал, что FPX очень хорошо играют, реально. Ну, я здесь ставил изначально 50 на 50. Но когда 2-0 повела Трова, я же вам на стриме говорил, они только это сделали, только потому, что там была Моргана и Джакс у FPX. Как только FPX Моргану и Джакса убрали, все, у них все перевернулось. Вся игра вообще. Они не ждут с Киева там 3 сетов Джакса, 10 тысяч, пока у него будет. Они не играют через Моргану, вот этот бесполезный рандом рут. Попал, не попал, вот это вот 50 на 50.
He certainly was. It is very cool. It is also tactically significant.
Hell.
Fado really going for it here.
Dude, he just popped the ulti, and Long was like, bro, it's not that
All right,
serious.
dude. Okay.
А Камила без ТП же играет. Камила... Ну, она должна успеть. Надо играть, чтобы Камила успела. А можно не троллить, пожалуйста, в FPX? Доигрывайте, Алистар танчит. Нет, нечем. Все, одного забрали, отошли, окей, найс.
FPX have to fight so hard to get that kill, but they do have the advantage the entire team fight, so it's relatively safe for them. They get a fair number of cooldowns and do confirm the kill onto
Отлично.
Unfortunately, it did cost them almost every flash on their team.
Я на Варуса смотрю, мне больно. Знаете, что он сейчас собирает, кстати, Тринити? Варус 0 дэмэджа. Это просто жесть. 0 реализации героя здесь в данной игре. Вот. А, тут вот так даже, да, Алистар играет. Просто дал еш, подошел к стене, чтобы сбить ТП в Конгу.
FPX managed to get the kill though, not a whole lot with it, and sometimes I see critique from very good Western players. They're like, whoa, what are these teams fighting over? Well, sometimes it's okay to fight over kills, because getting a kill onto Yami gets gold onto your key carries. So, anytime you can find a pick uncontested, like there, it's safe for FPX to keep forcing kills, or keep forcing the push, because they know that they have cooldown advantage and player advantage in that fight. They knew where Long was, they knew it was a safe fight to take, so they chased the kill.
And now we are 10 seconds away from the Elder Dragon spawning here, TJ.
And this is an objective that is worth fighting over. FPX do have full resources available again. Still missing flash on 0-7 and Yezi, but apart from that, top down.
Ooh, that's a big shock.
And here
Короче, сейчас на Элдере все решится, но... Решится тут что? То, что FPX должны выигрывать. Вот, Алистар энгейджит. Хороший... Хороший был кик от Лисина. Здесь по разным целям команды играют, но здесь... А почему вы... Что вы делаете, FPX? Вы гоняете? Вы фри-игру хотите проиграть? Вы зачем Боже. Лисин кикнул Камилу. Камила ультанула и флешнулась. Алистар остался один против 5 просто. Против 4. В кусту. Цирк. Такую катку слить, я в шоке буду сейчас. Лисин с Га, Камила энгейджит. Алло, жмите кнопки. Хорош, Зикс. Зикс больше полка. Зикс очень много делает. Красавчик. Пока Зикса не... Зикс, алло! Зикс! Боже, ты серьезно? Это что за... Я только хотел сказать, пока Зикс живой, Трова не сможет выиграть. Но почему такое тролль ТП от Зикса? Это просто жесть. Ну нельзя Зиксу вообще умирать. Почему он так ТП дал? Это просто жесть. Там есть вижен, очевидно. Конечно, там будет вижен перед Элдером. 20 секунд до Зикса. Это главный дэмэдж. Из этого слить игру. Поэтому так нельзя бэкаться, ребят. Вот вам одна ошибка. Они... Преимущество по голде 6000. Нужен Зикс. Зикс 5 секунд. Зикс должен ТП покупать, но там Лисин умирает почти. Одно хп. Зикс ТП. Зикс ТП. Отлично. Зикс ульт. Какая заруба. Элдер, Зикс. Камила забирает Элдера. Боже, ой-ой-ой-ой-ой. Просто что за файт, ребята. Короче, там Зикс игру заруинил из этого телепорта. Вы представляете? Такое преимущество в игре иметь и просто слить. Я в шоке. Сейчас уже и Варус начнет дамажить с Элдером, который бесполезный. Я просто в шоке. И все из-за того, что Зикс ТП дал. И мне просто перед глазами... Вы представляете, Зикс дает ТП, я говорю, пока Зикс жив, FPX будет побеждать. И они просто втроем бегут, жмут кнопки. Посмотрите на это. Ну зачем? Почему ты здесь даешь ТП? Ну это бред вообще. Отойди по тавер, тебе трудно секунду пройти там. Жестко, короче, я в шоке. За такое наказывают. На таком уровне наказывают за это сразу. Это вот пример вам. Тролль ТП называется. Очень сильный матч. Спасибо за лайки. Ну, матч жесткий. Но здесь Зикс все правильно отдал. Я говорю, Зикс ТП, он купил ТП, прилетел. Но там не хватило уже. Там Лисин, посмотрите на Лисина ХП. Лисин должен был, знаете, что сделать? Просто бэкнуться, купить телепорт. Хотя нет, это такое себе. Не успел бы он прилететь. Тут, видите, держит дракона. И очень грамотно сыграл Варус с Вуконгом. Но Зикс почти застилил, кстати. Сколько там ХП? А у Камила вот остается у нее ХП. А, нет, здесь 500... На 200 ХП. 290 ХП Камила смайт прожала. Зикс смог состилить по Камиле, если бы сыграли, но здесь Камилу добили. Ой, короче, ну есть шансы выиграть. У них преимущество. Короче, все ровно. Слишком плотная игра. Вон Камила нанесла 6600 в последнем файте урона. Надо играть. Алистар хорошо играет. Алистар, посмотрите. Блин, ну тут FPX должны... Они заслужили выиграть. Вот клянусь, заслужили. Очень обидно из-за того, что Зикс дал ТТП. Реально обидно. Они очень хорошо играют эту карту. Ну, Элдер, блин, но он слишком дает. Тем более для Камилы, ребят. Ну, она очень сильна с Элдером, поверьте. А, там Камила дракона забрала, точно. Да-да-да. Я думал, я перепутал, да-да-да. Там такой файт просто жесткий был. Ну, у FPX еще есть шансы выиграть. У них преимущество по голде. У них у всей команды в 6 сетов практически. Ренектону надо ТП купить, кстати, идти на сайт. Ривен очень старается, очень старается. Алистар? Там тавер еще на топе. У FPX почти мертвый. Ну, карта прям потная. Просто жесть, конечно. Я бы, наверное, никто на месте купил бы ТП. Он все равно, ну, бесполезный. Что тут говорить? Купил бы ТП, шел бы на сайт до конца сплитить с братоломом. Надо растягивать. Хороший кик, но нечем играть. Вот вам и Камила с Элдером. Посмотрите. Почему так Жоня поздно? Алистар сейчас... Не, ГГ, ребят. Это ГГ. Все. Я в шоке просто. Я в шоке. Зикс игру слил. Ой, блин. Ну, бывает, бывает. Просто это говорит о том, что за это будут наказывать. Надо было подвышку ставить. Нельзя такие ТП давать на турнире. Тем более перед Элдером там вижен, очевидно, будет расставлен везде. Тем более, когда в миду Т1 стоит. Вообще, FPX тут, я не знаю, у них преимущество всю игру было. Они всю игру играли, они заслужили победить. Но Зикс все заруинил там. Здесь Зикс умирает. Он 1000 урона с кушки. А, ГГ. Они уже просто на все деньги тут идут. Все. Ой, боже, офигеть. Из-за этого телепорта вонючего он игру просто перевернули. Я в шоке. Могла быть история на этом турнире. Выйти в финал, проигрывая 0-2 в полуфинале и 3-2. FPX хорошо эту карту сыграли. И последнюю, и вот, которая сейчас идет прям. Спасибо за лайки. Не, ГГ, ребят. Я в шоке с Зикса. Ну и как в шоке? Я такое сам делаю часто. Ну, я не на турнире, конечно, такое. Ну, это бывает. Но, блин, обидно. Мне прям обидно очень. Красавцы. Ну, молодцы. Терпели всю игру. У Варуса было 5000 урона на 15-й минуте. У него было 2 слота, когда у вражеской команды 4. У него был Манамон, и на 12-й минуте только антихил появился. Манамон антихил. Это просто жесть, я не знаю. Я просто в шоке. Получается, Нова выходит в финал, это первый финалист, а FPX будет играть за 3-е место. Ребят, добейте лайков по-братски. Также переходите в телеграм-канал. Да, нельзя так играть. Такие телепорты перед Элдером на турнире, когда там весь вижен расставлен, ну нельзя просто, нельзя. Абсолютно верно. Ну, это наказывается сразу бумерангом. Карма, короче, пришла.
They are the first team to book their ticket to the grand final. You can see the cheers on their faces because as far as Nova are concerned, this was the match they were waiting for. If anyone has thought Nova looked a little kind of calm, collected throughout the tournament, even in victory, this is the match that everything was about for Nova. And now they need only await their opponents from the opposite side of the bracket.
87 days ago was the last time that Nova faced off against Fun plus Phoenix. They beat them that time, and somehow they did it again.
They sure did. And what a win as well, because we talk about how Long is like the best player, and he demonstrated so much depth here, even shut down in the early.
Ребят, ждем завтрашний еще полуфинал вторых игр. Жесть, короче, катка была потая прям. Всем спасибо за стрим, ребят. Посмотрим, может вечерний стрим запущу, поиграю в Суваку. Сегодня только одна пара у нас была. Ждем завтрашний турнир. Все, всем спасибо. Всем до завтра, ребят, либо до вечера. Спасибо за лайки, ребят. Ну, катка красивая была.